All right, Brian, Arrington, glad you could join us, man.
Nice to be here.
Glad you come get on ground zero for
Yeah.
the Beyond the Ballot Randolph. So
I appreciate you doing this. I've been on Facebook asking for debates and couldn't find anybody to host one, so I'm glad you guys stepped up.
yeah, and what I was telling you actually earlier before we started, the main reason I want to do this is I've always said I don't like debates because debates are typically they're one-sided. The folks putting on the debate typically has a particular candidate. Questions will be skewed to a candidate, limited time to respond. So I just had an idea that, because I know some of you guys, I had an idea just everybody always says, hey, why can't people talk? Why can't people talk? Well, we can sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Two men sit down and just talk and give everybody an opportunity to say, this is true without all of because, in every election, especially when the election day gets closer, there's always these folks that it's just, and some candidates are worse than the others, that they just want to, if somebody stole a piece of chewing gum when they was 8 years old, they want to defame them over it.
Yeah.
And so I don't like it. Yeah. I just call that noise. And so what I wanted to do was try to get all four of you individually, get you together and let each person showcase their talent, showcase and explain to everybody why you are the best candidate to be sheriff.
Sure.
And let people make up their mind. And, whatever time it takes to do that, at the end of the day, we can say, Brian Arrington, he had an opportunity to tell everybody that wants to log on and view the video, then you can tell them everything about you, anything you want them to know without somebody hammering down your throat or arguing with you or making accusations. And that way, people can truly make up their mind. They can see you talking and they know how to make up their mind. They can make their judgments based on it. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair platform.
Yeah.
So, but what I want to do is what I've been doing with everybody is I want to start with your background.
Okay.
Because people, some people know you, some don't. People that are on the fence, they'll want to know, okay, yeah, he's been there a long time, but what has he done?
What has he done? Right.
So I'm going to go through some of this, and I may stop and ask a question, or there may be something you want to interject into there if I don't get all this right, which is a possibility. Knowing me.
I didn't put all of it in there.
Oh, that's okay. We can talk about it. We can talk about it. If you didn't put it in there, talk about it, because this is it's a position of qualifications, and standards, and people need to know. People need to know what you got to offer.
Sure.
And that's how they make their decision. So it looks like another Eastern Randolph here. These Randleman Tigers in Eastern Randolph, I tell you. You were born in Randolph County, so you're born and raised in Randolph County. You graduated from Eastern Randolph, 1989. So in 1997, you actually started with the sheriff's office as a bailiff, right?
Yes.
So between this job just hit me. Between 89 and 97, what'd you do? Just work, just regular jobs?
Yeah, manual labor. So.
Okay. So after you were a bailiff, then
a little bit of college, and then realized college is not for me, and I needed to go make some money, so I went into the workforce and started.
There you go.
Making money. Actually, when I went to BLET in '97, and this don't sound like a lot, but in '97 I was making $30,000 and got a job with the sheriff's office making $19,000.
Yeah.
So you take it was a big cut.
Going to get rich in law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
I told another one of your opponents, I said, you're surely not going to get rich as a teacher, a firefighter, or a law enforcement, and you're going to have the most headaches.
That's true.
Yeah. So then after you were a bailiff, then you went for a year, 98 to 99, you were an SRO. So for people that don't know, SRO is a school resource
Yeah,
officer, right? Which
right.
is going school to school and taking care of security at school,
Well,
right?
I was assigned to one school then,
Okay, yeah,
just to a middle school.
okay. And after that, you went to the civil division for some stint there for a year or less, it looks like.
Yep, and served warrants and child support.
Criminal warrants.
Well,
Or,
yeah, especially if you had walk-ins, you would take the criminal
okay.
ones. And
But typically the civil division, what all does
well,
that
my
encompass?
assignment was child support, which they call 4D, and it was Randolph County child support.
Mhm.
So my job was funded by the child support agency and partially anyway. So I served papers all over the county, and pretty much that was my primary assignment because I was funded by the agency, so they didn't want me doing a whole lot of other stuff. But since they didn't fully fund the position, I did have to, help out with other stuff and run folks to jail that would walk in and help others do stuff and do roundups and when we had to. And so, I did have other assignments, but I was primarily
Yeah.
a child support officer, which now they have two of those in Randolph County. I did the whole county. Now they have two that do the whole county.
Is that because you did so much or because they have so
Well,
much more?
I treated it like it was
Excuse
a
me.
challenge.
Hmm.
So if you didn't want to be served, I found a way to find you. And certain papers, I would say, hey, I would write because the date would run out, the court date would run out. You'd have to return it because you couldn't find one. I would call them and say, this guy's avoiding me. Please reissue this. I'm gonna serve this for you. And it was a challenge to me just to find these people. And
Little cat and mouse game.
yeah, I'd get up at 4 a.m, and the wife's like, "Where you going?" I got to go find somebody.
Okay, and then, um, okay, let me back up. You school resource, but you were then, I assume that was a promotion from civil division to senior patrol. Is that right?
Back then, they were offering a raise for experienced school resource officers,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Well, that sounds enticing. Since I started at $19,000, I would like a raise." So I went back to school resource officer at a different school, at a high school, and got senior. It was promoted to senior patrol.
Okay, so if you're like, if you equate that to like a police department, would that be like a master police officer or?
It's the step below corporal.
Okay. Okay. So
And
for the people that don't know, tell them at least up through lieutenant, tell them how that
it would be
escalation
it would
goes.
be just regular deputy, senior patrol corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and then they've added some ranks
Yeah.
like lieutenant colonel and colonel. And we
Yeah.
didn't have those ranks back when we started. They were added under grades, I think. They were
And so
added.
the senior patrol was just, that's your first stepping stone into the promotional system.
Yeah, and I knew in the school resource division it was going to be hard to be promoted, and that's why I got out of school resource and went to child support, 4D officer in civil, because there was a ranking system in that division that would give me a chance. Not that I would get it, but it would give me a chance to get promoted. At that time, the SROs didn't have any ranking system. It was SROs and captain.
When did the SROs actually start?
Mid 90s, I want to say.
Okay.
The
And
first
we'll get into
SROs in
that.
Randolph County was like 94 or something like that.
Okay.
But it was just high schools.
Yeah.
I was one of the first middle school SROs in 97.
Okay. Okay. So then from there you went into what most call CID, Criminal Investigation Division, as a detective.
Right.
And from there, you got promoted to a sergeant detective, vice and narcotics.
Yes.
Okay.
I did 2.5 years in
Yeah.
CID.
Yeah. From 2002, 2004, you was in CID. You was a detective,
Yep.
Criminal Investigation Division. And then after 2 years, you got promoted to a sergeant.
Yes.
And so you were in Bison Narcotics from 2004, 2016.
That's right. 12 years.
That's a long time.
Almost to the day.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And then, and then you went back to SRO.
Gave up my rank and went back to SRO. And I can explain that.
Yeah. So in 2016, all the way to the time you retired, you were school resource, you were school-based program supervisor and division commander.
Yeah, over SRO.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what that is.
You're the captain, a rank of captain, and you're over the division. I had, at one time, I had like 31 officers. I think it's grown since then because they've added more SROs since I've left. So they're probably up to 34 by now, not counting the captain, so probably 35 in that division. Most of those officers are school resource officers, but it does include the care and dare division.
So you took care of the care and dare as well.
Supervised care and dare, and also supervised the criminal apprehension team.
What is that?
It's a spinoff of the warrant squad division. Back when I started, it was called warrant squad. Probably when you were there, it's called warrant squad. They go out and serve warrants. And the CAT division was a spin off of that because warrant squad.
So explain to everybody what the CAT division is.
Criminal apprehension team. So they.
And the reason I stop you and I say that is because a lot of people, when you say CAT division, they won't know what that is.
Yeah, well, that team was made up of 4 people, and it started off as in uniform, but you could catch people off guard when you're out of uniform in plain clothes and playing cards. So it started switching where we would have 1 in uniform and 3 in plain clothes, and then it eventually went to all plain clothes, and they're still plain clothes officers now. So they don't necessarily work undercover, but they have some anonymity, so you can pull in driveways and people don't run out the back door. It's to help give them time to get around the perimeter of the house or get to the door, to the back door, and secure the place.
So are these like high-profile arrests? Or these high risk?
Some of them,
some
yes.
Just runners.
Some of them were just regular warrants for larceny and whatever. But if CID had a homicide and they took warrants out on them, they were called in. They were on call and asked to come in and find this guy. And if it took them to Charlotte, then they went to Charlotte.
So is there specialized training that you all did with this criminal apprehension team?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
They would do some of their own training with mat work, talking about.
But you were the commander over that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so was some of their training, I guess the only thing I can kind of equate that to in my mind is like what used to be the ER team, the SWAT team.
Well, 2 of them were on the team.
Okay.
2 of them were on the team. I don't think they are now, but they still, as a unit, they still did room clearing and a lot of tactical stuff as far as defensive tactics and what they call SCAT now, subject control, and they would wrestle on the mat, and some of them even now are Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys. I mean, they'll tie you in a pretzel. I mean, the guys in there now they like to fight. They fight for exercise. So.
Yeah, and it is, I guess the tactical training has developed over the years, to where there's a lot of modern techniques that are used that wasn't there when you were younger.
Right.
And so
and sometimes they have to be careful because with SCAT, they only teach what the state wants you to teach. Now, you can go outside the parameters, but you have to tell them, this is not taught by the state, but here's something you can use to get out of that hold, or here's something you can use to get better control of the guy.
Or survivability.
Sure.
Okay.
To win the fight.
Okay, so So over the 5 years in the school system, you had an average of 25 arrests per year, and you personally located 5 firearms.
That's drug arrest.
In the 25 drug arrests, right?
Drug arrest, not counting larcenies and fights. And
that's just drug arrest.
That's drug arrest.
Drug arrests, and then as well, you personally located 5 firearms at a school while serving as a CRO for those 5 SRO.
Yeah.
For those 5 years.
Yes.
Then, yeah. As an investigator supervisor for 12 years in device and narcotics, with involvement in over 5,000 drug cases, drug investigations.
As a unit.
As a unit. How big was your drug unit?
7 guys.
7 guys. So including you?
Yes.
Okay. 5,000 drug investigations during that time span. 27.5 years of experience in 5 different divisions at the Randolph County Sheriff's Office, and have personally written over 225 search warrants. So let me ask you that. Those 225 search warrants, was all of those your individual cases, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't like.
And because when I was in Vice, case law didn't require, back in the day, case law didn't require a search warrant on phones. That's all search warrants to kick doors in.
Mm-hmm.
That's not searching devices or phones or anything like that. That's search warrants on houses.
Yeah, and I would imagine that, and the reason I ask that is because I would imagine, because I know from years past that sometimes in some of these divisions, criminal investigations or vice and narcotics, you got that really sharp guy, and the unit would have cases, and they'd say, "Hey, Joe, I need for you to type search warrant for me." Is some of them maybe?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
But either way, you're the commander over it too.
Right, and I don't know that I was the go-to guy, but I would push the envelope when it came to search warrants.
Mm-hmm.
I thought outside the box and try to be creative to get into the house. A lot of times we would approach a house and then develop probable cause to get a search warrant, mm-hmm. and not just go there with a search warrant.
So for the people that don't know, when you talk about getting creative in writing search warrants, explain to everybody the process from the information to the search warrant to being able to execute that search warrant.
There's really simple search warrants with probable cause that is just sending an informant in to buy drugs.
And all this is second nature to you,
yeah,
because people don't know, but explain to folks generally what probable cause is.
It is information that is more likely than not that if there's drugs in the house, because we purchased from the house, that there's likelihood that there's still drugs in the house within a certain time period. If you wait too long to do that search warrant, your probable cause will age out. And
so it has to be recent, relevant information.
A recent sale or a recent possession of the drugs, because drugs mostly are meant to sell. And if it's a drug dealer, his objective is not to hold on to the drugs. I mean, they've said that case law says that you have to have reasonable, a recent purchase or recent information from a reliable source, and you have to go through steps to make that person reliable.
We don't want to give away too much information. So.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too, about how many
mm-hmm.
Cases and how much information that person has given you that was true, and every time he gave it to you, it was true, and when you told him to do certain things and follow directions, he did it every time. And
let's stop there. We don't want to flip the cards over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what probable cause, basically, I guess, if I could paraphrase it, is it's enough information that would lead I guess, a reasonable person, which would be a magistrate,
Right.
to believe that a crime has been, or about to be committed.
Right.
And that you would need to get into something or access to somewhere through that warrant
Yes.
to get something, to get drugs or information or whatever it may
Without
be.
that information going stale.
Mhm.
Not you can't just sit on it and go when you want to go. You have to react to that.
Okay, so go ahead and continue now. So you're putting this information together for a search warrant.
Yes. It could be a buy. It could be back then, and now you have to do a little bit more. But it could be with trash pulls. You know, the case law has said that if you abandon your trash can at the end of the road, it is not your property anymore. And
We don't want to educate them.
well, I think they know it.
Yeah.
But,
So in the process of getting that search warrant, so everybody knows what you go through with getting that, then once you get the information that you think you need to make a magistrate or a judge feel like there's enough information to give you access, what do you do with that paper after you have it?
we execute it.
Well, you go, it's just not your discretion, right? You got to go get approval somewhere.
Wait to serve it.
No. Like when you're sitting there and old school, you're in a typewriter.
We
Yeah,
did have computers.
I know. So you print out a search warrant, which is basically an application. Is that right?
Yes.
So after you're at the office when you do this, they're just blank
Right.
forms and you fill them out.
Well, there are
Mhm.
AOC forms, but we didn't use those. We used a Word document.
Right. Okay.
We
So
created it ourselves.
So once you create it, what do you do with it? Walk me through that.
We would take it to the magistrate,
Okay.
or sometimes a judge,
Mhm.
depending on the severity of it. If it was a meth lab, it has to be signed by a judge, because in the meth lab search warrant, there are certain items that are too hazardous to keep, so it has to be destroyed prior to trial.
Mhm.
And only a superior court judge can say, okay, you can destroy that, which some judges didn't like signing those, because they were like, I can't believe you're allowed to do this. But case law again supported our search.
So once you just can't willy-nilly put whatever you want on a search warrant, then go kick somebody's door in.
No.
So you have to take it before a magistrate or a judge. They got to look at what you've written down.
And everything that is written down is all you can testify to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't testify to other stuff that's not in the warrant, because if it's not written down, it's not part of the case. You can't give more information. And some judges would tell you, don't talk to me, I'm going to read it. Yes, sir. And other judges would say, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so you've written 200 and...
It'll be over 235.
Yeah, so, yeah. See,
personally.
yeah, 200.
We averaged
225.
100 search warrants.
So that's an important part of that role.
Sure.
I mean, you would think that it doesn't matter if you write a search warrant and you go in somebody's house and you seize 10 kilos, if there's a flaw in a search warrant, you've just wasted everything, right?
You've lost the case.
Yeah.
So the more information you can put in there, the better.
Okay, and it says you've been deemed an expert witness in drug recognition in Randolph County District Court on 3 occasions.
Yes.
2019, you were promoted by the current sheriff to the rank of captain over the community-based programs, supervising the criminal apprehension team, which is the CAT team that you had just mentioned,
Right.
school resource offices, CARE and DARE. Okay, so here's some interesting numbers. So while you were in, was it 12 years in vice and narcotics?
12 years.
12 years in vice and narcotics. So these are some statistical numbers from, these are actually numbers. They're not statistics.
These team numbers.
Team numbers.
Not personal seizures, but team numbers.
This is you and 6 guys.
Yeah, 6 guys.
Mm-hmm. So from January of 2005 to December of 2015, 14,833 pounds of marijuana.
Yes.
Almost 17,000 marijuana plants, 33 pounds of meth, 490 pounds of cocaine, 3.8 pounds of crack, almost 7,000, it says dosage units, but that's one pill.
Yeah.
So almost 7,000 pills of oxycodone, almost 4,000 pills of hydrocodone, 4,200, a little more than 4,200 pills of alprazolam. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the technical.
Is that like that's a generic Xanax, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Almost 900, well, 852 pills or dosage units of ecstasy, 173 dosage units of LSD, over 25 meth labs.
And that's what I love doing.
What's that?
The meth labs were my favorite.
You like those?
Yeah, you get more jail time out of it.
So over 1,400 firearms seized, almost 1,200 search warrants for the unit. And $3.64 million in currency seized. It's pretty impressive.
And you have to take in consideration that 1 year we seized we stopped a truck. We didn't stop it. Let me tell you how this happened. And that's why I say you have to know that that's just 7 guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the whole sheriff's office. So we had a tractor trailer come into the county, and we had information. Not going to tell you how, but we had information. We watched the truck, and it sat down at Walmart in Asheboro. The driver got picked up. They went to eat, and we had worked all day. We had worked from 8 o'clock till dark, and now we got this truck coming in.
Just doing surveillance.
Just doing surveillance on it. No, we had worked all day doing other stuff.
Oh, okay.
Then we get information this truck's coming into town at dark, so we set up on it. So you know what the captain's gonna say, who's staying night shift? I'll do it. So me and
After you worked all day.
after I worked all day.
Now here's I guess a sidebar question. You get paid for that?
Comp time.
Tell everybody what comp time is.
It's just time that's built up, and you get an hour and a half for every hour over a certain time limit. So at that time, every hour over 84 hours, you got a time and a half.
Yeah, so instead of getting time and a half pay, you got time and a half time.
Yep, time and a half.
To take later.
Yes.
Did you take all your comp time?
Eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Eventually, yeah. We had a lot of comp time.
If you didn't get comp time, would you still been out there all night?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's working drugs is a disease. It's a passion. It's not a job. It can't be a job. You won't ever get anything done. But if you punch a clock while you're working drugs, you're never gonna catch anybody. And that's what the captain and I realized. Even when other people wanted to go home, we stayed out. And it's a disease.
And obviously you produced.
Oh yeah.
You
we did it all. See, now the units have split up, and there's a vice group and a VNet group, and the VNet group does a different type of investigation than the vice did, but we did all of it. We did all of what they do now in one unit. And surveillance, and sometimes high-profile warrants, because we didn't have a criminal apprehension team. We had just warrant squad guys, and so I mean, if they needed something done, we'll go. If there was and we weren't all in SWAT, but we still did our own search warrants, and we sent most of our guys to SWAT school, even though they weren't on the SWAT team, because we did most of our entries as vice guys. And I'm not going to say it looked picture perfect, but we got the job done in the middle of the night. Because sometimes when it's time to go, we wasn't gonna wait till the morning. You know, if the dope's there, the drugs are there, we know it's there, we got PC, we sent our guy in, he bought or whatever he did, or however we got that PC. We're not gonna wait till the morning, because in the morning, in certain areas of the county, it's not gonna be there.
And and that brings up a question, and then we'll finish with your background. But I personally have heard over the years that there are specific timelines that people should be in certain divisions. You hear 5 years, you hear 7 years. You were in Vice for 12 years. You were working dope, what we used to call working dope, for 12 years. Is that too long?
It depends. I think it depends on your age, because it's a young man's game. It'll work on your body because you don't get much sleep, and when you do, it's not regular.
Yeah, well, and most people watching this, their exposure to vice and narcotics is what they see on TV.
Yeah.
So how closely, as a vice and narcotics officer, how closely are you walking to that line between right and wrong and good and evil?
I didn't see any amount of drugs or any amount of money that made it tempted me at all. And I've seen a lot of money, and I've seen a lot of drugs. We seized a lot of drugs. I am one that I can gladly say, and it's not that I'm putting anybody down that may have used marijuana or any other kind of drug in their teens, but I'm one that can gladly say I've never put it in my body. Even though I've seized and held a lot of it, I've never used anything.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's...
So I didn't have a temptation to,
So is that typical across the board with all vice guys? So if you're the sergeant over vice,
you can have some rogue guys, but
is that a case by case basis, or
I think so, yeah.
So how long if somebody...
Davidson County had a mess. They had rogue guys, and Robeson County at one time had a mess, and where they arrested most of Robeson County Sheriff's Office were the gang officer and interdiction guys and the vice officer, and even their SRO was involved in criminal activity, and they arrested all of them and the sheriff and the chief deputy in Robeson County, and it was a mess. I mean, it was a mess. So not all of them was involved in the same illegal activity, but this is something you need to think about. If you have a sheriff that is involved in legal activity, and this sheriff was using asset forfeiture money as his personal bank account.
No, you're not saying this sheriff in Randolph.
Well, no, this
you're
Robeson
saying
County.
Robeson County.
So if his men and women see or hear or get rumor that that's going on, well, he's not holding himself accountable. He don't care. Why should we? So they were robbing drug dealers and lighting them on fire and stealing money on camera.
So I mean, it's kind of what you're saying is if the man at the top sets the example, good or bad or indifferent,
yeah,
then typically his subordinates all the way down to recruits, they're going to follow suit.
And it don't have to go all the way to the top. It could be just a commander.
Good point.
Of the unit. It don't have to go that high up.
So would it be safe to say there's some people that can't pull 12 years and there's some that maybe can't pull 5?
Yeah. But I don't think you really get to know what you're doing in 2 or 3 years.
That was my next question.
You don't know what you're doing in the first year. You're learning. And it's a hands-on learning. The way we did it, it was, hey, you're going to handle this. Hey, I want you to write this case. I want you to charge. Well, I'm not sure what to do. That's why you're doing it, because we're going to show you. And
have you ever had anybody, while you were a sergeant, have you ever had anybody under you do something improper, incorrect, that you had to refer for disciplinary action?
No,
Okay. You've never overlooked any though?
no,
Okay.
no. And that's why when you see officers in Robeson County, and Davidson County was before me, but when you see officers in Robeson County and other counties, and we can talk about the one I've talked about on Facebook here in Randolph County, that um, their actions get overlooked, it's sickening. And when they get caught, it's sickening, because it gives every officer, that black eye because of what they did. A lot of people think all of us are dirty, and that's just not true. Um, just like every person out there is not doing drugs, every officer is not out here stealing and lighting drug dealers on fire. So it's not happening, but you're gonna have you will have occasionally have a rogue officer, and it's came true unfortunately too many times.
But you don't have an issue dealing with it?
No, I think you ought to. I think you ought to make a big deal out of it and say, yeah, we caught him and he's going to jail, and just like
So
anybody
not just
else.
fire him?
No, anybody. If you're going to hold a standard, society holds us to a higher standard. Why can't we hold ourselves to a higher standard? We had a guy that was stealing out of our property, a uniformed officer stealing property that they would seize, that was stolen. They would recover, not seize. They would recover this property. But he's taking stolen property that the insurance is already paid for, and he's selling it on Marketplace and Facebook, Craigslist, and he's doing it all at night. And we see him hauling a lawnmower out at 12 in the morning. Like, what are you doing out here by yourself? Man, y'all need to do that in teams.
All right. So organizations that you've been a part of or are currently part of. So North Carolina Narcotics Enforcement Officers Association, you're a lifetime member of that. You were elected president of North Carolina Narcotics Enforcement Officers Association in 2011,
Yep.
and a board member from 2007 to 2015. So, and then out of Virginia in 2007, you were a member of the National Association of Drug Diversion Investigators.
That they deal with pharmaceuticals, and at that time, North Carolina didn't have
Okay.
A chapter, so we went to Virginia. It was the beginning of our pharmaceutical investigator position, and I said, well, if you're going to investigate it, you're going to go learn how. So he and I went and joined that.
And so the pharmaceuticals, that's all the pills, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then in the Carolinas, back all the way up to 2010, you were a member of the same organization, but for the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And then North Carolina Gang Investigators Association from 2010 to 2014. North Carolina Juvenile Officer Association, 2017 and 18. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council of Randolph County board member from 2020 2024. North Carolina Association of School Resource Officers board member, North Carolina Region 5 representative from 2022 to present.
Yes.
Or at least present as of the writing of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm still on that board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have gone through, and if I remember correctly, all your certifications through your tenure in law enforcement. You went basic law enforcement certification. You got your intermediate law enforcement certification in 2006, and then your advanced law enforcement certificate in 2010. And then in 2011, 2023, clandestine laboratory cert.
Yeah. Which is a hazmat certification that allows me to help the SBI clean up meth labs once we find them.
Okay.
So we would get in the big moon suits, the Tyveks, and zip up and tape our wrist and put the mask on and go in there and clean the chemicals up.
Okay. And you're still currently certified?
Not in that.
No, currently certified as a general instructor.
Yes.
Through the North Carolina Criminal Justice.
Yes.
Okay. And currently field trained. You still field FTO trained?
Yep.
Okay. So you're
an FTO instructor.
Yes, FTO and FTO instructor. Field training officer supervisor.
Yep.
certified field training officer instructor through North Carolina Justice Academy, North Carolina Justice Academy certified basic school resource officer training, and instructor through the Justice Academy. So it's a pretty extensive resume.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
I did erase more. I had more. The training that you take like in service, I did have the hours.
Explain to everybody what in-service training is.
We're required to do so many hours of continuing ed training every year, and
so that's training while you're working for an agency. Yeah. You go to either the community college or they come there.
Or the Justice Academy online, one of those. Over the Justice Academy, I think I had close to 2,000 hours of training just from the Justice Academy.
So for the folks that don't know, the Justice Academy is the top tier training organization for North Carolina.
Yeah, right. And you can log in and see how many hours you have just with the training, just with the Justice Academy. And I think it was around 1,900 and some odd hours, and it'll keep going because I'm still taking in service even as a retired.
And you have to have so many hours to go toward these advanced and intermediate certificate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get points and years, and then you get that certificate.
So if somebody just comes in and they work 30 years or work 25 years and they have no training, it's more difficult to get that advanced.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I encourage that with all of my people, because if you don't grow in law enforcement knowledge, you're not going to be attractive when it comes to promotion time.
So how many years total did you?
27 and a half.
27 and a half.
And we can go back to all that comp time. So, and when I took off.
And sick time probably.
No. When I got sick, I used comp time. When I want to take a
No, I mean, you could use your sick time towards your retirement.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when with all that comp time and CID and advice for 15 years, I got comp time. And I actually, as an SRO, before they started paying the assigned SRO of the school, that SRO got comp time. So my SRO, the CID, device, all those years I got comp time. I didn't get paid. And if I wanted a vacation, I'd take comp time. If I got sick, I'd take comp time. And my sick time just built up, and then your vacation gets to a certain point and it dumps over into your sick time, and it keeps gaining, and it dumps over every year.
So you were pre-planning.
Yeah. So I had 30 months of sick time.
That's awesome.
And I checked out a year and a half 30 months early.
That's awesome. All right, so 27 and a half, is that what you said?
Yeah.
27 and a half years. It's tough to do that much time in law enforcement, fire service, teaching, anything like that.
At the same agency.
So now
that's the tough thing.
Yeah, so now here you are now. You're jumping back in the fire pit and you're saying, I want to be sheriff.
Yes.
Why?
It gets to a point where you see so much that's running good people off. You have an agency that has policies that they don't follow. There's always been, with every sheriff, there's always been a different level of punishment for the crime when it came to certain people. There's never been congruency when it comes to discipline. That's been all four sheriffs.
So if there's a favorite one, they might not get disciplined or discipline less.
We'll just say with one certain sheriff, if you wrecked a car, you went to the jail. Mm-hmm. Unless you were certain somebody, and then they said, don't worry about
it. Okay, I can see what you're saying.
We'll take care of it, don't worry about it. Okay. When other people wrecked and went to the jail and then stayed in the jail so long, they left and went to other agencies, and now they're making big money because they're lieutenants at other agencies, because we stuck them in the jail because they had an accident.
So how do you fix that as sheriff?
You can't run off your veteran officers, and you have to. People want to know no matter what happens, you're going to treat them equally. And that's
Whether it's good or bad.
right.
Okay.
That's in disciplinary issues and in promotional issues, promotional processes. And you can't have a guy who comes in from a different agency after having disciplinary issues at that agency. And I'm not saying he was forced to leave, but had to leave or chose to leave to avoid disciplinary from that agency or whatever, or being fired or whatever you want to call it. And he gets to your agency, and I'm not saying he's a bad officer as far as knowledge. He has knowledge of the job. He just makes poor decisions in his career that gets him in trouble. That's not the officer you promote. When you have other officers that have been at the sheriff's office for as many or more years as him, who have as much knowledge, who have been dedicated to that place through three or four sheriffs, who have worked multiple divisions in that sheriff's office, and are still don't have the rank that the guy that got in trouble that came over does.
So that opens a Pandora's box for
Yeah.
conversation.
Sure.
Regarding promotional process, policy enforcement. We'll get into all those.
Or just moving someone from one division to another. And that was one of my points on morale is you can't make one person happy and 40 others mad. You kill morale.
And
it kills it.
And I guess more so from a position of making them mad. Is it just a matter of fairness?
Right. They're not angry to where they have become lately, but they're not angry to the point like I'm done, I'm leaving. But the frustration is, especially when it's a job opening, and you have a job opening, and instead of opening that position up and using your promotional process, which they have revamped, because I did a video on promotional processes too, and shortly after that, what do you know? They got a new promotional process.
Okay, yeah, I want to get into that
So
too.
now, if you're not using that promotional process, and you're just saying, "Well, I heard you want to go to that division, so we're going to slide you over there." Well, you made that person happy because now they're in the division they want to be in. But if you're not opening that position up to everybody, maybe the 7 guys and ladies that wanted that position that didn't get it put in for it won't have a chance.
So they've been alienated, is what you're
They
saying.
don't have
there.
a chance. So you made one happy and you made 7 mad. Not because they didn't get it, but because they didn't get the chance to get it.
Yeah, so under that scenario, then that goes to maybe officer retention. So if you have somebody that might say, under that example, you may have somebody that says, no need for me to stay because no matter what happens.
I have talked to a guy that has said that.
Okay.
That has said that and left not because of money, but because he knew where he was at was he was a dead end. I get overlooked. I did what they said. I went to the classes they suggested. I do what they asked me to do and more, but I still get looked over, and I don't know what to do.
And so this particular person, they left.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So from a broad perspective, in your view, what are the primary responsibilities of the sheriff?
Well, statutorily, they cover security in the jail, civil process part of it, and the courthouse. As far as Randolph County, they do a lot more. But statutorily, like Charlotte Mecklenburg, that's all they do is civil. They do some drug work with canines, but it's in the jail mostly, or on civil, and they do have canines and stuff like that. So they do more than what is actually required. But what is required of a sheriff in North Carolina is those 2 things. Randolph County obviously does more. They do patrol, and of course Vice and CID and SRO, and the SRO group is expanding, which is good. And
So essentially, though, the primary responsibilities you're saying is the jail and the court security
and civil process.
and civil process.
Yes.
So really, just three things.
Right.
Okay.
But
Okay.
three big things that can get you sued in every move you do. So, especially civil process and the jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the jail, the detention center. Like, just kind of go through, because most people haven't been in there. Most people don't know. So just kind of describe some of the terminology, the pods, what a pod is, how many pods, if you know how many detention officers there are there, the kind of shifts. Let's see here. I wrote some stuff down. The budget, um, the medical, transportation, staffing shortages. Then there's a couple of things I want to talk about, other things. So just generally all of that.
As far as the jail goes, that's where most of the issues that I have been talking about have coming from. And people want to think that I'm blaming officers when I haven't. I haven't
Tell me
blamed.
what you're talking about, because I don't
Well,
know, and most people don't
there's
know.
been mistaken releases where
Oh,
inmates
okay, I
have
do
been
know about that.
mistakenly released
And I
from
don't know what that
custody.
number is, but it's somewhere around 6 or 7 that I'm aware of.
It's 7, and I believe it was 8. Posted about it, correcting myself, and what I put out was not totally accurate, and what they put out was not totally accurate, because I have a public records request.
Yeah, regardless, there, let's just say 5. We know there's 5.
I absolutely.
Yeah, so there's at least 5.
There's at least 5. I think there's 7.
And we'll just, for
And
argument's
I
sake,
didn't even talk about the first one.
if for argument's sake, we'll say 6.
And I'll tell
How
you,
does that,
I'll
number
tell you
one,
why.
how does that happen? Number 2, your sheriff, how do you stop that?
I'll tell you how it happens. It happens because you take the positions from the jail and put them everywhere else.
Now, what does that mean?
So you create a spot for recruiting. You create a spot for court liaison.
Why would you do that? I mean, is that a needed role?
I don't think so. Maybe recruiting because we were shorthanded, but before we were shorthanded, no.
So,
But
if you pull somebody from a division, do you not hire and fill that?
you can't. That spot's moved, and they use those spots at the jail to send officers to BLET and pay them to go to BLET. So you can't. There's not another position. You just can't put somebody in jail when you don't
Yeah.
have
So what you're saying is
salary to pay them.
Yeah. So what you're saying, it's not. Is it a new position? Do they create a new position and move the detention officer out to that, or is it an existing position and they move them?
It's a new one. It's how they.
Okay.
It's how they had put spots in the shop. It's how they. It's how they gave Richard Allen his spot. There, he's supposed to be a jailer, and um, and he can say, "I work in the jail." That don't mean you work doing jail activities, because in his own words, he's just had shoulder surgery, and he's not been to jailer school, so you're not able to work with inmates or supervise inmates without being there.
So I'm trying to understand how pulling somebody out of the jail
Well,
create.
you're pulling a position.
So
You
so
just
you're
take
so you're like
an empty position that we haven't filled, and we take that position, we close a pod down.
Close a pod.
Yeah, it's empty. You close a pod down and take the positions that would normally work that pod where the inmates would sleep in that. auditorium, you know, it's a big auditorium. It's like a barracks.
So are you
On
saying there's not enough prisoners to fill a pod?
They're on the floor. We have room to sleep prisoners in the beds, but we have so many empty pods, we're stacking them on the floor again. The same problem we had before we did this multi-million-dollar renovation of the jail, we still have it. But it's not because the jail's too small, it's because it's so understaffed. And when you understaff a facility like that, there's going to be mistakes, but you can't blame the officers because they're understaffed, they're overworked, they're unappreciated, sometimes undertrained and underpaid.
Let me get this straight, because I want to make sure I understand this. You're saying there were, I don't know how many, but at least in this example, there was a position at the detention center. That position was moved. In other words, we said,
Because anytime you create another position, you have to go to the commissioners and get
that's right.
permission. And
So
all these commissioners they're not going to let you do that. They're not going to give you permission to do that until you answer the question, do you have somebody to fill this role? Because they ask that. Well,
yeah,
you're asking for a new spot. Do you have somebody to fill it? Because if we give you a new spot and there's nobody to fill it, it's a waste of our time. So he doesn't create a new position. He just moves that position.
so you have a position here, which is detention officer.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, recruitment, you say, okay, detention officer, you're now recruitment. That's gone.
That spot's moved. Or they may be in BLET. They may be paying 2, 3, 4 guys to go to BLET, and those spots are jailer spots.
BLET being basic law enforcement training.
To become certified law enforcement. They take those spots out of the jail and pay them. And those guys are some of them are from the jail. Some of them don't go to the jail. Some of them do go to the jail. But they take those officers and put them into BLET, which is basic law enforcement training, and pay them to go to class. Then when they get out, they go through field training on patrol. And if they're successful, they stay on patrol. And if not, they go back to the jail.
And so, and I'm going to just want to make sure I'm hearing this right. We paid millions of dollars
To renovate a jail that we're not.
to expand.
Yes.
And we
create space.
We have need for these pods to be operating.
So we told everybody.
And we being Randolph County in general, positions have been moved out of there to create other needed positions, and we have closed the pod down because they're short staff, and those inmates that normally are in there are sleeping in the floor.
Yes.
Wow. How many
empty,
pods are there? Do you know?
4 empty dormitories.
4 empty pods.
Yeah.
How many are there total?
I was told it was 7. I'm not after the renovation. I'm not sure. Of course, you have Max, which is not a dormitory. They're single cells. But
so if we just said 8, that's 50% of the annexation of the. No, that's the total. So
this was a multi-million-dollar adventure, and we told the commissioners and the taxpayers we need space. We're overcrowded, and we were. We didn't necessarily tell a lie. The jail was full. Trust me. A lot of when I was in Vice, a lot of times inmate population would go down at Christmas.
And I guess
they wanted these people to have Christmas with their families. And trust and believe, January 1st, when Vice came back from Christmas break, we tried our best to fill it back up.
so. I guess to be fair, in full disclosure, did the current administration inherit the jail expansion?
Yes.
Okay.
The current administration completed
it.
The jail expansion.
So it was initiated under the prior administration?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And changes were made that were not in the plans. So the plans were to have the officers in a protective room and to cut budgetary needs. That was removed, and they're now in, like the old style, they're in the pod with the
So
inmate.
how many is there fully staffed? Do you know?
I do not.
Okay.
I will say this, when we would take inmates to jail, you would normally have 3, if not 4 at intake, and now you might have 1 or 2.
Okay, so
Intake officers.
let's go back to the cause of why accidental releases happen. You said you know why that happens.
Yeah,
What,
it's mistakes. It's simple mistakes.
I mean, is it clerical? Is it intentional?
I don't think it's intentional. I really don't. I think it is clerical. They do have a new program, a Guardian program, RFID, that they implemented, and I think
I heard that's a good program.
they're actually fully using it now,
Mm-hmm.
which has helped. Obviously, has helped to reduce that. But well, I was screaming training.
Okay.
Get these folks some help. Get these folks some training.
Okay, I'm gonna throw some pixie dust on you, and you're automatically the sheriff. How do you fix all of that? How do you get these pods open without adding new people? How do you fix what you just explained?
You don't corrective action instead of termination. I mean, we've fired an officer with 5 years experience for passing cookies from one inmate to another, which is obviously is not acceptable. We don't pass from one inmate to it, but it's cookies.
Okay, so
you don't terminate that officer, you fix it.
okay, but obviously, if they've got maybe 50% of the pods shut down under the example you gave me, part of it, I assume, is created new positions and took detention officers out of there, canceled that position, and put them into another role.
Well, there's officers leaving for other reasons at the jail.
Mm-hmm.
That they will say, and I'm not privy to this information because I've never worked at the jail, but they will say that there's issues in supervision that need to be addressed. And I've talked to plenty. I've talked to at least 15 that have left, and unfortunately are happy where they are now, because I would love to get them back.
So, just for argument's sake, you're elected sheriff, you go in this year, and late this year, and you're going to fix the jail from a high level. How are you going to fix that?
You have to make moves up at the upper command staff, and I'll tell you one that was made that caused damage, and I'm not going to say names, but
Yeah.
my story will be crystal clear to everyone working there. I've talked to 20 jailers since I've started running. They message me or call me or want me to come see them and meet them, and the story never changes. It's always their opinion. It's
So
always,
is the issue the supervision?
that's their story.
Okay,
That is their story. Now,
so do you fire those people? What do you do?
I don't want to fire anybody. We're already short-staffed.
So you rationalize them into another role?
Well,
but then how do you get more? What would be your strategy to get more people in there to get these pods back open, get those functioning?
you have to move the spots back.
So these other roles. So if somebody went from a detention officer to recruitment, then
that job's going to have to be absorbed in somebody else's job. We need to move some of these spots back.
Okay, because what I'm getting at is, if you're going to remain status quo, these positions that were created, they have to go away. And they have to go back to the detention center. So if not, then that's going to be a position add, and it's going to increase the budget.
Well, we used to have an officer that did recruitment and court liaison. Now we have an officer that does court liaison and an officer that does recruitment.
Okay,
and training.
So are you saying that
separated.
One of those would be rationalized back to
They have to pick that assignment back up. They're going to have to do both.
the
officer who had both responsibilities, and then they took half from that officer and gave it to another one that they created that spot for.
Okay, so you'd eliminate that and transition that one back
You
to,
have to.
okay.
You have to put the people back in the jail. We just talked about it. What's the biggest three responsibilities of the sheriff? It's not court liaison.
Okay, so that's one position.
It's the jail.
All right, so that's one position. How do you get the other 10 filled? I mean, obviously, if there's 12 or 15 that have left, obviously there's something else going on.
I'm sure there's positions open down there. And we're talking to the 15, 20 I've talked to. I think I can get some of those back, experienced officers back.
So
I don't think I can get them all. I think some of them are happy where they are.
So
And they
is it recruitment? Is that part of an issue?
Retention starts at recruitment.
I'm sorry?
Retention starts at recruitment. If you're recruiting the wrong guy, he's not going to stay. If you are recruiting a guy and you send him to BLET, and this talks about budget too. You send a guy to BLT or a girl, it doesn't have to be a guy, and they pass and come back and they go through field training and they don't pass field training. What do you do with them?
What do you do with them?
Well, I know what they have done with them.
What would you do with them?
They turn them loose. I would put them somewhere else where they're not going to hurt themselves. And maybe that's the jail, where it's more controlled atmosphere and they can get to that position slower. They can learn and I go back to law enforcement knowledge at their pace.
And maybe work their way out of the jail.
Because some people learn faster than others. Some people know more than others.
So it sounds like recruitment is pretty important to getting.
Right, because if you're getting an officer or two or three or five, and you send 5 officers to BLET, and then they all make it. They come back, and one of them doesn't make it through field training. You have to deal with that, and then 4 of them make it through field training, and 2 of them say after field training, 2 of them say, "This ain't for me." Now you sunk all that training into those guys. You've outfitted them. You gave them all those personalized equipment. Hopefully new vest, but that's something else I harped on was equipment. I mean, we have officers walking around there with expired vests, and they know it because they've taken a survey who has an expired vest.
Okay, so
because I talked about it.
How does Sheriff Arrington fix that problem? Any ideas?
Which one?
You recruiting people, you send them to basic law enforcement training, and then they come out and they say, "This isn't for me."
Well, you have to go talk to, and we have officers that instruct in BLET. They see these guys and girls every day. They know who the cream of the crop is.
Is there any pre-screening, background checks, anything like that?
I'm sure there's financials and you calling, your references and stuff like that.
Does the county do?
We have
psychological evaluations.
They have to, yeah.
All cadets do a psych eval. Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's at the tune of $700.
Okay.
So if you have 5 and 3 of them wash, you've wasted all that money. Now you got to do it all over again. But in BLET, these officers that teach BLET, they know the cream of the crop. They see it. And if we're not picking from the top 4 or 5 in the class, then we get what's left over. Not saying that they didn't pass, but...
And that's also assuming that the top 4 or 5 want to come to the sheriff's office. Exactly. Is that right?
Exactly. Because they may want to go...
Because there'll be other agencies will be vying for them, right?
Or they've already got them.
Okay.
Because Asheboro, they recruit and vet their guys and gals and then send them to the class, and they're hired as they go to class. Asheboro pays a little more, but the county, to me, I'll say it out loud, is a better place to work. And it has been for years until And this is the two things I told the sheriff in a staff meeting. And it was not a comfortable conversation. And it got to the point I thought, I'm going to get fired. But if you're going to ask the command staff members over and over and over, I need ideas. Why are we losing our men and women? What's going on? I sat there for 20 minutes and bit my tongue and finally said, you know what, I'm going to say something. And this may be the end of my career. But if he's going to ask, I'm going to tell him. And I said, there's two things we have to keep as high as we can at this agency: money and morale. And we can't always determine the money, because sometimes our hands are tied with whatever the commissioners give us. And sometimes it's budgetary issues, but we control morale 100%.
I mean, now in the defense of the county commissioners, we can't, we being me, you, everybody, we can't cast stones at the county commissioners
No.
with an $18 million increase in the budget over the last 7 years.
Yeah, you can't
So
say.
that's not the issue.
Well, a lot of people have said, well, the county commissioners won't get off that money. They doubled the budget for you.
Yeah. So the money's not an issue. So how do you fix, I guess, not the money that's given to you, but the money that you have and the morale? How does Sheriff Arrington fix that? We'll go with the morale first.
Follow your policies. Promote the smartest, most hardworking, dedicated, law enforcement knowledge person you can. From zero, from a slick sleeve or a deputy, all the way to captain or lieutenant. That should be who you promote. And if there's a tie, that's where longevity comes in. If you got two guys and one's got 18 and one's got 12, but they're a dead tie. There's a dead heat. And the 18-year man gets it.
What do you do if you got one that's 10 years, then you got one that's 2 years, and the 2-year guy, he tests better, more knowledge, more true experience? How do you handle that?
Something went wrong with that 18-year guy that we didn't do our job to get him to where he needs to be.
But nonetheless, if it exists, how do you deal with that? Do you promote the 2-year?
I don't think you can do that.
So if you set out a test, and
that's another thing. I suggested they do test. And now,
well, how do they promote?
And that, well, now they do, because I set out a clear plan, a promotional plan. This is what you need to do. You need to test them. They need to be tested. You need to know law enforcement knowledge.
Okay, in your view, are there people that have been promoted over other people with more tenure that were more deserving and more qualified than the ones that got it?
100%.
So how does that happen? So, and I guess what I'm saying is, if you take a 10 or 15-year guy or girl, and you take a 2-year, 3-year guy or girl, and they're testing for corporal.
Let's just say higher than that. I'll tell you, with one word, I'll tell you what it is.
And the 2 or 3 year person, hands down, far exceeds the 15-year person. Do you give it to the 2-year and explain to the 15, or do you give it to the 15 because of the tenure?
Well, I'll say that if that's the case, we have failed that 15-year vet.
Okay.
And whoever those supervisors are that had that vet have failed that vet, or the veteran has stayed in one division his or her whole career and has not tried to become knowledgeable.
But nonetheless, that situation still exists.
But we have to make sure that we give them every opportunity to keep that from happening. And if it still happens, then you have to make hard decisions.
Under that example that I gave you,
but you can't promote because of loyalty, and that's what's happened also in the past.
Okay, so in that scenario I gave you, and it may or may not be a fair question. I mean, I think it's fair.
I think it's hard to believe that would happen. Really,
it has.
It's hard to believe that would happen.
Okay, so you just said a moment ago that there are people that have been promoted over tenured people. And so if they didn't test better,
Well,
then why were they put there?
They just started testing. So we're guessing at their law enforcement.
So when did they implement testing? They being
most recently, this
within 12 months.
Oh, within six months.
Let's just say 12 months. Okay. For history previous to that, how did this administration and even prior administrations, how did they promote?
Most likely they would go to the supervisors and say, what do you think? But then sometimes, and sometimes they're truthful, but sometimes it's like, I like this guy better, or I like this girl better. And it might be because this, because that. So,
okay, so let me go back to the same scenario I just gave you a minute ago. Let me change the factors a little, and let's say they're going to do a promotion to corporal. You got Johnny number one, who has 5 years. You got Johnny number two that's got 2 years, and the 2-year guy is hands down better than the 5-year guy.
At that close, with that close of years, I'd say give it to the 2-year guy.
So why not the 10-year guy? If the same situation exists, why not the 10-year guy?
I'll say this: if that 10-year guy has gotten to that point and he's got 10 years in, then we failed him. We didn't prepare him, or he's been in one division way too long.
But if that situation,
and he's not going to be able to handle that job, and it'll show immediately.
So you're saying you wouldn't give it to him; you would give it to the one that tests better,
or open it back up. Open it back up.
So why not give it to the 2-year guy?
I'm not saying I wouldn't give it to him, but if that's the choice you make, you have to put parameters on it and say, we're going to give you this, but you better prove it, or
to the 2-year.
Yeah, or you won't be here long.
And that should be the case with any promotion.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's your decision to go with the 2-year guy, and you give it to the 2-year guy because they're that impressive, you have to set parameters on that. Because that's out of the ordinary. To me, it is.
Or even if it was a 5-year and a 10-year.
I've seen 5 years get it.
So if 5-year tests better,
not under this sheriff, right. But I've seen 5 years.
But you were just speaking a while ago about the importance of policy and consistency.
Well, the policy does not include really longevity. The policy is we need to test them to see where their law enforcement knowledge is.
Do you believe in testing, promotional testing?
I do.
Okay, so if you have 2 people and they're 5 years apart and they take an equal test, and the short-term guy, we'll call short-term guy.
That takes all the thinking out of it. He proved it. He did it. He did better than you.
Because in my view, if you don't give it to that person, then they're going to go,
why?
I tested better.
I do better. I work harder. I'm smarter. And you still give it to him? Yeah, you're killing morale.
And that guy's or girl is probably gone.
Well, right. To another agency where they will be very successful. And that's why I say if you test it, the 10-year guy can't say anything about the 5-year guy because they proved it on paper.
Good point.
It ain't my opinion anymore. He just proved he was better, or she was better. And I don't think test is the end all be all. I think it's a barometer though. It's a measuring device.
Mm-hmm.
There's other stuff that you should consider, and that's the opinion of the supervisor counts, the number of divisions they've been in counts. I think education counts. I'm not going to hold somebody that didn't go to college back. I didn't graduate from college, and I wouldn't want to be held back. But
would you give somebody extreme preferential treatment for having education and no road experience?
I would give them a bump in pay, but not better treatment.
Yeah, I guess
and it's like, and I suggested that. You know, if they speak a language, I mean, they're doing more than I can. I can't speak two languages. If they go to 4-year college and they're trying to educate themselves to be better at their job, give them that reward. If they get their advanced certificate, that certificate that you have to have all those in-service hours and that time in, and they put in those hours to try to make themselves better, then give them that bump.
If somebody walks in the door with a bachelor's degree, and you've got a guy that he's got 8 years on the street, does the guy with the degree, does he get fast tracked because he has a degree over the
No, because
road guy?
No. Even if he goes through BLET, we've learned from experience that on-the-job training is the best training.
Okay.
I mean, book training is nice, but when it comes to law enforcement, on-the-job training is the best training.
What do you think about
a lot of it is easy, is black and white. When you open that book, it says, you know, he did do this, and you can arrest. But what's more important to me is, did I handle that case correctly? Did I violate any rights of his? Did I not read his Miranda correctly? Did I interview him incorrectly and I've ruined the case? Did I, illegally search his vehicle? Because I don't know search and seizure. You know, that's not in the chapter 90 or chapter 20 or chapter 14. That's stuff you learn. The case law is as important to know than the statutory law. And if you don't care to educate yourself on that, you're going to be left behind.
Okay. Yep. So let me ask you this: what do you think about you've got an opponent that is a large proponent for, at least in some of the posts, for chain gangs, for inmates.
Who you going to get to watch them? We're short-handed.
For argument's sake, let's say you had
Well,
full staff.
back in the day, when Richard Hurley was sheriff, we took inmates to clean county property, but we didn't clean private property. We didn't clean anybody's property. We didn't go on the side of the road and pick up trash because
Were they chained?
No.
Okay.
No, they were.
That was what you would call a trustee?
Yes.
Now, are those folks in the detention center serving time, or
Yes.
folks in the detention center waiting trial?
It could be either.
So either could be a candidate for
it. The classification is determined by what they're charged with. A lot of times it's child support.
Okay.
A lot of times the child support guys that are doing time in child support are either waiting on child support court or they got sentenced to jail from child support court because they're in arrears and hadn't paid their child support. Back in the day, that's who your trustee was, and they would wash your car and they would clean the floors and they would do all that.
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that, but
right, and way back in the day, unsupervised. Now we can't.
that is the word. That is the epitome of trustee.
Right. But we figured out quickly they're not that trusted.
Yeah.
So we, and when we did it, me and another SRO during the summer, we went over and cleaned all the buses, and they cleaned the buses.
So what's your view on the concept of chain gangs?
I don't see how you could do it in a county jail. The majority of the people in the jail are not there for that long. I mean, you have people standing trial for murder that are in there, or serious crimes that have high bonds and they can't make, and you have people doing, short sentences in there. But I mean, we're not housing anybody that can do that you're going to trust to leave the jail for a long amount of time like that. You certainly don't have the manpower to do it.
Right. Do you think there could be some constitutional violations regarding chaining people up?
Absolutely. Even the mere sight of it is going to bring outrage, and probably civil rights. I don't see, with all of those examples, I don't see that that's feasible at all. or even something that needs to be done.
Okay.
There are jails that have ways to grow their own food. Something that I brought up is canine rehabilitation. I'd love to see canine rehabilitation in the jails where we have inmate rehabilitation.
Explain that.
Well, you have canines at the stray dogs they bring in, and they don't have anywhere to put them. Why don't we create a program where we're training dogs, and these inmates will dedicate more time to that than anything.
So
And
obviously
animals have
that would be a budget add, I'm sure.
It would be, but the dogs are free. They're from the pound.
And they probably have to be some pre-qualification for.
Absolutely, and they're going to have to be certain people that deal with them, and just those people.
And so what's the purpose of the?
Well, you may have a dog that is not sociable.
No, I mean, what would be the purpose of starting that program?
Well, twofold. I mean, you're rehabilitating the dog that's not sociable, and that now the dog's not going to, because he's aggressive. You two other animals, not two people. Now you've got to put that dog down because he's not socialized, and you're using that program to aid the inmates in rehabilitating the dog. So now you have an inmate with a task and something to work toward, and you may be creating.
So are there programs like that already exist?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So it's not recreating the wheel, but it would be a budgetary issue. So it depends on.
Or prioritization
budget, sure.
Throughout the budget.
I've talked about the canine division. I think our canine division, even though he has, all those dogs, there's certain canines in the division. Well, the dogs have to train every week. It's just required. And there's certain canine in the division that the dog pulls them away from their responsibilities. And unfortunately, we don't have a standalone canine division. We have officers who have canines, and the officer is on patrol, or he's an SRO, or he's in urban interdiction or highway or wherever he may be, and that's where the dog is until they need him, and then that dog responds to what they need to do. We do so many demos that the dogs are pulled away, and the officers are pulled away from their primary responsibility. But so now you're working shorthand.
But if they had a call, they'd leave the demo and go to the call, correct?
You could.
Okay.
Absolutely. But if you get a dog that your community outreach guy has, he's already doing demos. Now your community outreach guy has a dog. So you add that dog, and then you add a canine at the jail and have one of the supervisors down there be canine certified. Now they don't have to go to the jail and run to the jail. That eliminates that problem because that dog's down there. You don't have to do the demos because you have a dog in the community outreach guy, and he does all the demos, so they can concentrate on their primary position, and they stay where they need to stay. And a good example of this, I love this SRO, and I'm not trying to belittle him or dog, bring light to what's going on, but canines have to train every week, 1 day a week. He's in the school system.
Is that enough?
That's what they do per requirements.
Is that enough?
I'm not a canine expert.
Okay.
So when it comes to case law, that's the question they have to answer. Did they train enough? And it can be training the officer guide or training the dog guide and the officer together.
Okay.
So, but when you have a canine in the schools like we do, and he's already in training every day or every week for 1 day, you're taking him out of the schools 2 months out of 10. 2 months he's not at his school.
That's a vacant school.
For 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's only 1 day a week, but it adds up to 2 months in a 10-month period that he's
So
not
what's the
at
solution to that?
Well, you can't take away from that, but then they also ask him to do all these demos. So now he's away from the school way more than he should.
So what's the solution?
Give the dog to the community outreach guy and reduce the demos, so he's only missing 2 months instead of 4 or 5.
Because these, if you're elected, these are the issues you're going to have to deal with.
Because when that guy's out, or when anybody's out, the rest of them have to, pull that guy's weight. I'm not saying that guy's goofing off, but if he's not in his schools, and he may cover 4 schools, then the high school and the middle school guy not only covering 2 schools, now they're covering 6.
Okay, just to wrap up the detention center itself, are you familiar at all with the budget of the detention center?
No.
Okay, so let's run through criminal investigations. We'll talk about, if you're aware, the budget for CID, Criminal Investigation Division, the number of staff, caseload per investigator, things like that.
I will tell you this, but the CID has expanded to the point where they're not doing as many cases as they did when I was there.
Do you know what their caseload is? So,
I think
when I
it's
say
cut in half.
caseload, they have, let's just say they have this bundle.
Yeah.
And today, that one's gone. Tomorrow, this one comes in. So what is that static, if you know, static caseload now?
From my understanding, they're averaging about 20 a month. When I was in CID, we were averaging 40 a month.
Okay, so they've got pretty much 20 in their...
I think they divide it into categories, and I'm pretty sure urban interdiction is helping out with small stuff, maybe like motorcycle outbuildings and lawnmowers and stuff like that. And where when I was in there, we did it all.
Okay, so in your view, the way that it is now, if it's 20 per, is that a good number? Is that unreasonable?
It's a whole lot better than 40, because you break it down. I mean, a CID officer, he works, 22 hours, 22 days a month. On average, he's getting 20 to 22 cases a month. He's got 1 day to solve one case.
So, in your view, is that a good number? Would you like to see it less?
That's never a good number. You can't invest the amount of time that it deserves.
Okay, is there an issue that, if you're aware, if you're not, is there an issue with, be it responsiveness, if it's cases being cleared, if it's arrest, if it's victim impacts? Is there any issues that you're aware of in the criminal investigation that if you're elected, you say, I got to fix this?
No.
Okay, so you're okay with that, everything the way it is there. What about vice? Obviously, that's your expertise.
Oh yeah, I'm on it.
Talk to me about all that. Tell me the budget, the staffing, where they're at, where they need to be, the pitfalls.
I'll just tell you.
And if you're elected tomorrow, what would you do?
I like all the guys in vice, but I'm not going to be their favorite guy when I say this. We did more with less when I was in vice.
So why would you not be?
We did approximately. Now I will tell you this: since they divided vice in two, one is vice narcotics and VNet. VNet does produce those guys.
What do they do? What does VNet do?
It's more like they're in uniform and they do knock and talks, complaints. They set up.
Now explain what a knock and talk is. Wait, yeah. No.
It is.
We'll let that one roll.
Well, it is what it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll let that one roll though.
The door and try to talk.
So yeah, so they've got some roles that they do,
and it's uniform patrol where they're trying to target low level and dealers and complaints to clear up complaints. And
so you said you wouldn't be their favorite person, so obviously you'd make some changes.
I'm telling you right now that we did more with less, and that they don't want to hear that, but It's true. So numbers don't lie. Here's
that pixie dust again. Sheriff Arrington, you're sheriff tomorrow morning at 7:00. How are you going to fix it? What changes are you going to make to better it?
That's a lot.
Give me the high level.
That's a lot.
Because this is what people want to hear.
It's not a position that's 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
That period. It's not a position that's 8 to 5. You can't do it.
So are they currently working 8 to 5?
I know they only work 40 hours a week.
Okay.
Drug investigations is not a 40-hour-a-week job.
So do they need more people? Or is the
Well, obviously that would help, but
or is the expectation that they work
more.
60?
To me, it's whatever it takes. And that's how we did it. I'm not trying to take every minute of your life away because I will try to give you your time back. If you work 60 this week, I'm going to try to help you get out of there at 80 the next week. It may not happen. You may carry over time, but we'll try to get it back to you. But
That's a hard life for 12 years.
It is. But I was lucky that my wife and I kind of worked the same schedule, so we saw a lot of each other. But what people don't understand is I missed a lot with my kids.
And so, but would you expect, knowing you're older now, you see what you missed with your kids that you won't get back?
Well,
so do you want that same thing for somebody else?
I think it's easier to do when you're appreciated.
But nonetheless, it's still.
It's tough. Yeah. But if you're gonna be in vice and be a detective and make more, and your responsibilities go up. It's just like CID.
So I mean,
you're getting paid more, so your responsibilities go up.
Yeah, I mean, I know that those guys do that. I know, well, not those guys, but I know vice guys. They work a lot of hours. They work a lot of nighttime hours. So
when they have to.
Yeah. So is that answer, instead of having some vice guys working 80, 90 hours, is it?
I think 80, 90 is too many.
Okay.
But I don't think 50, 55, 60 is too many. I don't. Is it a lot? Oh, yeah. But if you reward them for it, they'll do it. Will they burn out faster? Maybe.
What's your concept? What do you envision?
I say we pay them.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think they need to always get comp time, and that's the reason primarily I believe that they go home at 40. Don't get any comp time. All right, I got my 40. Okay, see y'all next week.
They don't get comp time.
They don't want them to get comp time.
They want money.
They don't get money.
No, they want money. Is that what you're saying?
I think they would rather have money.
Yeah. So if they had a choice,
they don't want them to get that time. They don't want them to get that overtime.
Okay.
Not that they don't pay them if they do get it. They just don't want them to get it. But it's not an 8 to 5 job. It never will be.
So do you know what kind of budget that the vice guys work off of? Is it higher or lower? Is it static?
What are you talking about?
The annual budget to run vice and
because they have equipment that has annual maintenance fees attached to it, and they have an undercover buy budget that's probably way higher than it was when I was in there. So I don't know. I knew my budget in the SRO division. I knew my budget and how to balance my budget, and how to create more programs without expanding my budget. So I knew my budget in the SRO way better than I knew anybody else's budget because I looked at it a lot. I can't tell you the dollar amount, but I maintained spending to where I knew, I can't send.
Did you make your budget, or did somebody make it for you?
No, they make it.
Okay.
You could ask to expand your budget, but that doesn't necessarily mean you get it.
Okay, so when you was a captain, there was either probably the major or the lieutenant colonel or somebody was doing your budget.
Well, it stays the same from year to year unless you request more for a certain line item and you get it. And most of the time you didn't.
And I guess another question here is, does the SRO salaries and all of everything associated with that, does that come out of the sheriff's department's budget, or is that out of the school board's budget?
School board budget.
Okay, so
Not all of it. And see, we messed up. And we've tried over the years to fix it because for years.
we being the sheriff's office?
The sheriff's
Okay.
office. And the school system, I mean, they know, but they weren't going to volunteer the information. They were happy with that budget we sent over because it never went up. When this officer's pay went up over the years from getting cost of living raises for the longest time, for 11 years, the contract we sent over there never went up. And they knew it. They knew they were saving money, and we were coming out of our pocket with it. So now we're playing catch up over the years. You can't just throw it all on at once.
Mm.
So you're trying to play catch up, and a lot of the contracts we send over now are separate. Like I did a proposal for 4 new elementary SROs to cover 17 different schools because we didn't have anybody covering their schools except for the high school, middle school SROs. And it was during a time when Uvalde, Texas occurred, and it was a absolute mess. That response was a mess, and I'd love to talk about that training and how we always learn from our failures, because that's how Uvalde, Texas learned, and we can't do that. But that's when I proposed that. It was during that time where Uvalde, Texas happened, and I was like, this is an elementary school. It's a great time to throw this at the commissioners and the school board and see if they'll, say no. Because if they don't accept this, they may not survive.
Yes.
So I was like, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
I guess
do that to expand the SROs. And since then, they've done it again. So they're getting even more elementary school SROs.
All right. So I guess the last bullet item that I have under the vice and narcotics is I have seen a couple of social media posts that you've posted talking about the number of arrests have gone down in recent years.
Yes.
So
we averaged, as a vice unit, from 04, I won't even count 04, 05 to 16, we would average 600 to 650 cases. And if you divide that between 7 people, that's not much per week. And if you take 7 people and you say, hey, I need you to produce 2.5 cases a week, look at the number you got. It's way above that. And I don't think 2.5 cases a week is hard for an officer to produce, because you're not getting cases, but you're getting leads.
Okay, so if those numbers have gone down, then that's a symptom of a bigger issue.
I must say so.
So
we're not doing as much as we can.
Okay, and that's a symptom. So what would be the root cause? Let me get some more of that pixie dust and throw at you. You're sheriff tomorrow morning. What are you going to do? You said they wasn't going to like you. You wasn't going to be their favorite person.
I like the guys down there.
So
they work
other
hard.
than increasing the amount of time that they're out there working cases, what else is there?
You have to dig. I got more drugs being lucky.
So you're saying you're going to push them harder?
No, they have to want to go do it.
But why would you're saying you won't be their most favorite person? So why?
Because I'm going to ask them to do more.
So you're going to push them?
Yeah.
So,
I want to see more, and I know you can do it. And yeah, it's not fun. It's not easy. And if it's not for you, hey, God bless you. We got another.
Is it because they
got another spot for you?
Could any of it be because maybe they don't have the equipment or training or anything that they need? Do you know? I don't know. I'm just asking.
No,
that's not it.
And the captain over the unit has worked for us, so he's done it.
Okay.
Now, and I'll say this, with open borders, there's going to be more. Now that the borders are closed, there might not be as much, but you're not going to find it working 40 hours a week. It's out there. It's out there. They just got a big bust here recently, a few months ago, with Cary Police and Greensboro's task force and bringing information this way that landed in Randolph County, and there was a big seizure. I'm not saying our guys weren't involved, but the information didn't come from here. It came from out of county. So it's here.
So is it because they're not working hard enough to get it, or is it that they don't
I'm
have
not
the
going to say they're
training?
not working hard enough. I'm just saying the techniques we use produce more than the techniques they use now.
So it's training.
I don't say it's training. I think they know how to do it.
They're just not
It's
doing
just
it.
their choice of the cases they want to work.
Okay. So
And that was the issue. You have to understand that VNet was created because there was an issue, not because there was a need. So
what was the issue?
I'll tell you, you had officers down there that knew there was a better way because they worked under us, under me as a supervisor. They worked down there. And there was 2 sergeants down there that knew there was a better way to produce more stuff instead of doing it the way that they may doing it now. You can get more doing it this way that we did it, and it ain't easy. It's not. It wasn't easy, but it's the best time of my life.
Okay. So
sadly, it was the worst time of my life because of what I gave up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
All right. So now here you are. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
55.
So you're 55 years old. Do you think, if you're elected sheriff, do you think that's going to be less time than what you served for 12 years in vice and narcotics? Do you think you will dedicate the same level of dedication to being the sheriff as you did being vice and narcotics?
Yes.
And so
and my wife knows that.
And we just talked about
my wife is prepared to not ever see me.
So yeah, and that's my point. You took 12 years of your life and you gave it up for vice and narcotics to serve Randolph County. And now I would argue that if you're elected sheriff, it's going to be a greater burden.
She knows I'm going to disappear, and I will find time for family. I have two sons that are grown, luckily, and one's still in high school, and he plays sports, and I want to be there and I want to see it. But when I was in vice narcotics, this is the sad reality. And I'll tell you, this is how this is how I watch my kids play ball. How's he doing? Is he pitching? All right, what happened during the first batter? Oh, he struck him out good. What happened? That's how I watch my kids play ball. It's call my wife. Where'd they put him at? Oh, he's a shortstop. Good. He ain't gonna pitch today. All right, that's fine. How'd he hit? Call me back when he hits again. That's how I watch my kids play ball. So that's the sad reality of it, bud. And I chose that.
And if you had it to do over again,
I'd do it.
So it's a sacrifice that you made for people that want to understand what it means to serve.
But if you want to be successful, teaching kids this, there's sacrifice. You want to be successful, you gotta sacrifice.
Yeah. So when we talk about honesty, integrity, and serving, and I guess my follow-up to that is, for those 12 years, and we can see that, and I thank you for your service for all those years.
I've slept in that place. People don't know this. I've slept in that place.
And so for those 12 years, there were some serious sacrifices that you made.
Yeah.
And obviously, the emotional response from that, obviously, you do it again, but there's a lot of regrets. There's a lot of misses.
I lost a lot of stuff. I lost birthday parties I'll never see again. Mm-hmm. I lost my kids. All of my kids pitched, and that I missed no hitters,
and
being elected home runs,
and being elected sheriff I would submit that it would be a greater responsibility.
If I wasn't ready to do the job, I wouldn't do this.
Good.
I wouldn't do this. If I wasn't going to dedicate myself to the job like I did in Boston, I wouldn't do this. And what people don't understand is I know how to run that place. I am not a politician. I've said stuff that people don't like, and it's offensive, but it's true. And to me, that's the language we need to protect. Is the speech that's offensive to you. You're an elected official. People need to hold you accountable, and they're going to hold me accountable. I have to have skin thick enough to put up with it. I've been threatened with my life.
Yep.
I've been told I'll be at your house. I know where you live. I'm gonna come get you. And then my response is send anybody you want. Don't send anybody you want back.
Yep. So let me run through. I'll switch over here right quick. Let me run through just a few here, and you tell me kind of your thoughts and stuff. Is the highway interdiction still a thing, if that's what it's called?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that? I know there's
I don't know their numbers.
over the, I guess, over the last couple elections, they've been on again, off again, on again, off again. Is that in your view, is that a good thing? Would that stay? Would that go? Would that be evaluated?
Well, again, numbers don't lie, so I don't know their numbers, so I would want to see that.
So you do an evaluation, and if it
Sure.
wasn't producing,
I'm not going to go in there and just cut positions. That's just silly and unproductive. I mean, if the numbers are there and they're producing, then we need to keep that. And if it's not, we don't.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm just thinking of this, and I'm thinking from a prior conversation I had. Are there people, to your knowledge, employed with the sheriff's office that day one they're done? They
One
won't.
person.
Okay, I don't want a name. So,
I'll say it.
no, I don't want it. No. So there
They
is.
know who they are.
Is it because they can't function in a role?
No, it's because they participated in the campaign and past campaigns with the sheriff, and their integrity is at an all-time low.
And is that
because of the stuff they said using a fake Facebook.
So is that because
and lied about it?
So is that just because of so would that be what we would consider, if you're elected, would we call that a political termination or a political non-reswearing?
Well, he's not sworn.
Okay.
That would be a termination.
So everybody else,
I imagine that if I'm elected, he would resign.
Okay, so everybody else, do they stay?
No intentions.
Do they stay in their position? Is there some restructuring that goes on? Or?
Obviously,
yeah,
they will be restructuring.
Okay,
but I have no intentions to get rid of anyone.
Okay, on patrol, where I guess in the whole list of this, the list of vice and narcotic, obviously there may be some partiality toward vice because of your history. But in the grand scheme of things, if you had to start labeling them and say, this is the most vital portion of the sheriff's office, where does patrol rank in there?
At the top.
So that is that's the backbone of the sheriff's office.
And I'll talk about them. He wants you to believe that they got 10-minute response times. I have proof where there's 3-hour response times, an hour and a half response times. And I got a call from a lady that they never responded to. So I'm not saying it's their fault. Mm-hmm. When you're working 5 per shift and there's calls coming out your ears.
So why are there 5 per shift?
I don't know. They're telling us on paper they're full. So why is there 5 per shift? That's a management issue.
So, okay.
And now, I didn't release that.
Now I did see, and I don't like to quote anonymous sources. I just don't. But I did see today, I saw an old post from an anonymous source that said that they were 5 per shift short across 4 shifts. I personally find that's tough. Do you know if that's accurate or not?
At one time, they were 2 shifts short. They were spread that thin.
2 shifts short.
2 complete shifts short.
So that's 20 people.
At one time. Since then, I have been told that they have hired more people. Now, that don't mean they're all in their own car because you got to train them.
So,
So you
do
still,
you know what the cause? You know what the, obviously them not being there is a symptom, but what is the cause? I know across the state they have an issue with trying to fill these positions.
not Randleman, not Liberty, not Asheboro, not UNCG. That's where everybody's going, not Siler City.
So why are they going there?
I don't know.
Is
It's not all money. I'll tell you this, I worked there 27 and a half years. Asheboro City always made more than us. That didn't mean we jumped ship.
so there's
They
something
make,
else, is
yeah,
what you're saying.
I'm saying it out loud. I'm saying the quiet part out loud.
And what is that? I mean, if you
It's the
don't mind.
morale. It
Okay.
is the morale. And that's the one thing that we can control every bit of it. And we fail to do by not following policies.
Let me get some more of that pixie dust. How does Sheriff Arrington fix the morale?
Follow policy. Implement your policies. Your promotional process has to be what it is.
And equal
can't-
treatment across, like you said earlier.
If I've told you, if you create or increase or change a spot, reclassify is what it's called, from sergeant to lieutenant, you have to go get permission.
Mm-hmm.
He did, because they just promoted one from sergeant to lieutenant. There's not a lieutenant spot. It was just, like you say, it was just pixie dust.
Okay.
I want you to be a lieutenant. I think you've done a good job. Well, there's two things wrong with that. There's not a lieutenant spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing wrong with that is, why wasn't that lieutenant spot opened up to all the sergeants? Maybe they're more qualified than that person that got the lieutenant spot by just throwing pixie dust.
So what you're saying is that is creating the morale issue.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. SROs. How many SROs? You'll know this backwards.
34, 35, something like that.
Okay. Are they
and it
full?
could be more if they fill those spots.
Okay. Are they full?
Don't know. I made a post about it. Now, all I did was post a video of the boards saying, hey, we've had these money and we've had these spots and they're not filled.
That's a different issue, right?
Yeah.
Was that what do they call that?
I got criticized for that.
Is that the Archdale Trinity tax thing?
Yeah, AT tax. And they've been taxing those people.
So tell me how, because I don't know, tell me how that worked and how that affect the SROs and where the SROs were supposed to be.
One of them is an Archdale City SRO spot.
So help me clarify, help me understand this. This is the sheriff's department is going to supply the officers?
One, and Archdale will supply one.
And where were they going to be?
One would be at Archdale Elementary, and one would be wherever the other school that shares that AT tax.
Oh.
I'm not sure of the other one, but they would be assigned just to that.
Okay, so that tax was it was implemented to fund those positions.
Mm-hmm.
So
and those citizens have been paying it.
So those positions don't per se come out of the sheriff's department's budget. They come out of that
AT tax.
That AT tax. AT, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Is that Archdale Trinity tax? And so I imagine some portion of it went to Archdale, some portion goes.
It will, when the contracts are written, yes. And Archdale, per the meeting, you can hear them say Archdale City has picked theirs, and they're waiting for the sheriff's office so they can mirror their contract. They're willing to mirror whatever the county does, and the county has done it before. They know what they're doing. That captain over there is well versed at creating those memorandum of understanding or contracts, for the lack of a better word. And they were waiting on that contract. I've been told that that's not totally accurate, but I'm not in the meeting.
Okay.
All I did was share the meeting, and I got attacked.
Okay, so
I didn't say nothing in the meeting. I just shared the meeting.
Okay, so all of these SRO officers that are out here, when at the end of the day, they're all funded by Randolph County School Board. or school?
A portion, because we have some that we have fell behind, so they're not totally, but mostly.
In theory, they're supposed to be. Is that right?
Yes, and eventually, if we catch up, if we play catch up, yes.
Okay. Which brings up another talking point here in a few minutes. Okay, so go through some of your experience with the SRO, how vital the SRO is to these schools and the programs, and
I'm so glad you asked me this.
is it where it should be? If it's not,
I tried and got shut down. And some of it's ego and some of it's, poor excuses. And I fought that battle. And I'm the guy that's going to fight for my men and women, because I
okay,
think
what's broke with it that you feel needs to be fixed?
I'll tell you exactly how it went down. A lot of it goes down is I want my men and women to be better. I think, they're in the school by themselves. They don't have backup. An act of mass violence happens and is over typically within 5 minutes. Who's going to get there? He's telling you he's got a 10-minute response. Who's there to help them? Nobody. They're not forming a triangle and searching the hallway. It's not a SWAT operation. It's over in 5 minutes. There's new training out there called alert training. It's advanced training for SROs, single officer advancement toward the threat, dual, and in group. And then you have rescue task forces that bring in fire department, EMS, and some of these fire departments have their own vests and Kevlar helmets, and they're ready.
So are you saying they need more training and more equipment?
I'm saying everybody needs more training, especially the SROs.
Everybody in the department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, one could argue, and I'm just off top of my head, and when I talk to the sheriff, maybe he'll enlighten me on some of this, but off the top of my head, I'm saying, okay, we were at 18 or 19 million, we're at 38 million.
all the training is free.
But I'm saying somewhere in there, I mean, there's probably good places that all of it's went, but I'd say
Can't argue money in North Carolina. Our training is free.
well,
All we're spending is money
well,
on
all
ammo.
the equipment,
We're spending money on ammo.
I'm sorry.
We're spending money on ammo to train. That's it.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm thinking, and I'm just Joe Blow citizen out here, and somebody tells me we need more equipment, and I'm like, you just in the last 8 years you just got $18 million. Is that not enough?
Obviously not.
So
see, with the SROs, I wanted them to be better. There was a mass I don't want to say the S word. It was mass violence attack on a school. The two SROs that got together and sought out the threat and stopped the threat and took the threat down, they put their training on the press release. And it was, they've had 4 hours of this, they've had 8 hours of this, they've had 10 hours of this, and my SROs have like quadruple of that. And 4 hours is great, but 40 is better.
absolutely.
And it is my opinion, and it should be everyone else's opinion. The very first time you get in a stressful shooting situation, it should be in training. Because if it's in real life, you're in danger. So I
would submit that would apply to every role.
Maybe not. Maybe you have some Army experience and you've never been in one, but you
Well,
know
I'm
how.
saying that level of training, the increased amount of training should apply to every role in the office. Everybody needs,
absolutely,
just
but
as you said a minute
especially
ago.
the first guy on scene who is already there.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when we had rapid deployment, we started out with training going, all right, get in groups of 3, get in groups of 4. And I would raise my hand and say, well, what is the SRO doing? we're going to go ahead and say he's deceased. Well, how does that help him? Where's the training for that guy? And it never developed. And so now that we have this new training, there is training for a one man attack. It's just a seek and destroy mission.
Right.
You can't just go static search when there's gunfire coming from down the hall. You run to the gunfire.
So has this always been a static level of training, or has it increased in this administration, or was it higher and it's decreased in this administration, or you're just recognizing that it is what it is and we need to be better?
I have said this, and this is the most unfortunate thing that law enforcement does, is we wait till we fail to fix problems.
Reactive rather than proactive,
Yes.
you're saying.
And now that there's training out there that shows how 1 man, 2 man, 3 man, 4 man, they attack this threat and how to do it with 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. You're not trying to take your time. It's not a SWAT op. We don't have time for SWAT to get here and dress out and go in the building. That's what happened in Uvalde, and all those kids are not with us anymore. Because to stop the dying, you have to stop the bleeding. You have to stop the shooting first, and then you have to stop the bleeding. Well, the guy stopped shooting because all of them were deceased. But we can't get in there to stop the bleeding because we're playing on our phones and putting hand sanitizer in our hands, waiting on the SWAT team to get there.
Yeah. So it's this constant.
And our children are dying. We can't sit around and do this. And we don't need to, Randolph County does not need to wait till we fail to fix it. It goes back to the jail. What's the magic number of inmates being released before we say, you know what, we need training? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 6?
Yeah. So you would agree that, and this is what you're saying, is that it requires a proactive approach coupled with a vision.
And I ask for my SROs to go through, and some of the DART team, because they wanted to go too as well, and that's a disaster assistance relief training. They go out and do manhunting and walking through the woods and looking for lost people. They too wanted to go through SWAT training, basic SWAT training, and it got shut down. It was like, they don't need to know those tactics. Why not? Why don't you want that officer to be better?
And you're saying that training is free. Most of that's free.
Ammo, you spending money on ammo. And we had ammo because they tried to use that excuse, well, we don't have the ammo for it. Okay, I understand. And then all of a sudden, a mysterious pallet of ammo came in, and I heard about it. Hey, I want to put in for that training again now that there's more ammo. And then it went to, no, we're not letting them do that because they don't need to know those tactics.
All right, let me switch over to county offices. One of your opponents is suggesting that if they're elected, when I say the county offices, I'm talking about particularly the sheriff's office, the administrative offices of sheriff, that any of the sworn employees that are there doing administrative function, strictly administrative, whether it's concealed carry permits or whatever goes on there, those positions are going to be absorbed into somewhere, and those will be filled with civilian positions. What's your thoughts on that approach as a cost savings?
There's not that many of them.
Okay.
There's not that many of them.
So would you be for that, or you'd say, no, we want to leave it?
Most of the office workers, minus 1 or 2, are civilians. All the girls that do the gun permittings are, and then you have records, they are. Now you have one that is in the office a lot that does sex offenders, but she's a detective. She goes out and does stuff, so you can't do her. So are you just talking about the one that's over records, that one? Okay.
So
but there's not that many.
Would you leave that as a sworn position, or would you?
I mean, she's about to retire. I mean, we could address it, now that she's about to retire. But I don't think it's.
So you're saying you wouldn't eliminate her position or move her to somewhere else just to put a civilian person in there?
No.
You considered after she retired?
If it would save money to move somewhere else, maybe. But I mean, there's some of the stuff she does is law enforcement.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Let me go to the courthouse.
Okay.
One of your opponents is in favor of definitely keeping armed deputies in the courtrooms for courtroom security, protecting the judge, but taking, in the scenario that we talked about, was it was assumed that for the
Civilians.
example that there was like 28 people, 28 deputies working as bailiffs.
There's not that many, but yeah.
Okay, we'll for this argument so that it's even. It's 28. One of your opponent's suggestions was that if they are elected, then all the ones when you first go in the courthouse, all of those folks going through screening and things like that, they're going to be absorbed into the department, and they're going to be replaced with a third-party contractor.
Civilian or armed?
Civilian.
You're turning them into victims.
Okay. So you wouldn't be in favor of that.
What mass threat of violence are they stopping? They're going to absorb the bullets?
So that's just a hard no.
Well, and again, we haven't trained those officers. You don't think somebody can walk in that glass door courthouse and just start doing whatever to cause chaos? Now, they have equipment, but they've got to get to it. And if you have civilians there at the front door, you created victims. You need somebody to immediately return fire.
And I think that they did say maybe one supervisor.
But he's not going to be there at the front door when trouble walks in.
Yeah. So
they found guns in people's possession. I mean, thank God they didn't have violent tendencies when they walked into the courthouse with those guns they had.
So that's just a hard no for you as well.
No, that's a hard no.
Okay. Talk about the Invictus task force that's out there, which is, I think it's specifically designed for sexual exploitation of children and internet crimes against children and things like that.
Yeah, and that's what we called it for years, was internet crimes against children, or ICAC. The men and women in there do great work, but it's not anything new. It has a new label, but it's been going on for years, since Richard Hurley was sheriff. And Forsyth County, who's involved, was doing it before Invictus, and Alamance was doing it before Invictus, and Davison and Randolph were already doing ICAC cases before Invictus.
So ICAC, for the people that may not have heard it, ICAC stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. Right. Why does it seem that it's more successful now as a task force? You know, because every time I hate to say pick up a newspaper, because you don't do that anymore. Anytime you see a news article somewhere, it's 10 or 15's arrested here, 10 or 15 there, 30 here.
I think it's promoted better, but I mean,
obviously they're successful.
Well, let me ask you this: where's the press releases that they release on a daily basis? They're not on their Facebook page.
Yeah, I don't.
You have to go look for them.
Yeah, I don't
right,
know.
Because you have to go look for them. If you don't know where to look for them.
I mean, because years ago it was a newspaper, so I don't know where it's at now.
Right, but Invictus is promoted better.
I mean, obviously they're successful, because
absolutely.
when you see it, there's absolutely 20, there's 30, there's 15, and
and they obviously work together with other agencies besides the task force. They work with probation parole, and it produces.
So if you're elected, that's not going away. That's going to continue.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's your thoughts on the garage?
They don't like me either. But here's my thing, you know, we wasted $50,000. We got ripped off would send in our cars to get out or upfitted. They call it upfitted with lights and sirens to a contractor out of county at somebody's suggestion. And we cut him a check for 50 grand and he keeps it plus Randolph County EMS, he gets them too. And Randolph County EMS is smart enough to say, we're going to get our cars. And they go down there and get their cars and all their equipment that's in their cars, and they take them to another vendor. We wait another month. Well, let's see what happens. Then now we're trying to get our cars behind a locked gate because he's gone. And we have to, pull some strings to get in the locked gate to get our stuff back.
But that's not sheriff's department's garage. Okay.
So to combat that, they start doing it themselves. Now they're creating more work on themselves. In fact, and nobody knows this because nobody did the public records request but me, is that current sheriff submitted to the commissioners for another garage. Now, where are we getting them spots from?
So do you know
that garage was to upfit cars because they're so far behind. We can do. They're telling us we can do one a week, and that just wasn't happening. And at one point, there's a surplus. I put this video out there. There's a surplus of about 30 cars. By the time they get all those cars out, just this year, they issued a 2022 with 2,000 miles on it. That's how long it takes to get some of those cars out. I showed on video where they were hiding them over at Randolph Electric behind the fence. I got tipped off that's where they were. Randolph Electric one day leaves their fence open, and I ride back there and just video it. They're all marked up, but they've been sitting there a year and a half.
So one of your opponents is an advocate for a full financial audit by a third party.
Me too. Absolutely.
So you think that's a good idea?
Absolutely.
So
I think the shop was a good idea, but we need to make sure we're spending the taxpayers' money correctly.
So do you know how many, first of all, do you know how many people are employed there? Are they sworn?
Well, there's been some movement of some of them. I know there's at least 2, if not 3 full-time, but one of the full-time has been moved to do something else.
Are those sworn officers?
One of them.
So what's your thoughts on that? So you say you think the garage is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think you can save money.
Okay.
I will say that I think you can save more money by doing a little more stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I would even submit that there could be a trade-off between, even if you don't save money, then if something is safer, more secure, you have that benefit.
Yeah.
That it costs you some money.
It does.
So, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is what is, let me get this pixie dust again, and Sheriff Arrington, tomorrow morning, you've got to make a decision on the garage.
And I've done a post about this. I think there needs to be a true audit because, I mean, the person releasing the numbers is the one holding the pencil. I'm saying out loud, we can't trust that.
So you're saying you wouldn't get rid of it and you wouldn't keep it. You do a financial review of it
and then make a decision.
Okay.
I think it's another decision you're jumping the gun on without having facts. It's like, statistics with that urban interdiction and what they're doing. If they're doing a good job, it's not a good idea to get rid of it. And if the shop's working, it's not a good idea to get rid of it. However, there's stuff going down there that people don't want to talk about except for me. And here I am.
Like what? Tell me.
Well, here I am being negative, And
to
me, it's truthful.
Well, sometimes negative is negative, but addressing facts is facts.
It is facts.
As long as facts and this is the purpose of Beyond the Ballot Randolph. I want to cut through all the noise. I want to cut through all the he said, she said. And if there's something regarding what's going on at the garage that you can support factually, then the people want to hear that. That's what they want to know.
Well, I have eyewitness proof that I walked in on where a high-ranking officer's vehicle was up on the rack during an 8 to 5 business day being serviced because he was going to give it to his son. He wanted to make sure it was right. So here we are tinkering on somebody's private vehicle, personal vehicle, on shop hours, and that's supposed to be county issued vehicles only. And you walk in and here's this truck up in there
with county employees doing the work.
working on it.
Okay.
Who's getting this? That's mine. I'm giving it to my son. Oh, okay. But what do you say to a guy that outrights you?
Good point.
Without getting something coming down on you. And I've seen jet skis worked on in that building. We don't own jet skis. We don't run the lakes.
So you're saying there's personal work being done at the county
Absolutely.
garage using county assets?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a Razor or a 4-wheel drive vehicle down there that had a county issue radio in it. What for? And lights that blinked. What for?
Was that?
We don't own it.
Was that a county asset? The side by side, was that a county asset?
No, it's personally owned.
Okay.
We don't own that. And then there's a cooker, somebody's personal cooker down there. I sent you pictures
Just being
of that
stored down there?
being built. The cooker was built down there because it's built on an LPR trailer, which is a license plate reader trailer that got damaged in an accident. And they take the LPR frame. You can clearly see it's white with brake lights. And it's the old LPR trailer that they disassembled and took off your speed is this, and the LPR readers, and they took off the stuff that was valuable and kept, and then this frame that used to be sheriff's office property is the base.
Still is sheriff's department?
Yeah. Is the base of the cooker that this big pit cooker is on. It's in the pictures I sent you. Now, I didn't take them, but the pictures I sent you are in daylight with the garage door open, with the county's welder sitting right on it, plugged in and ready to go.
So is that
I'm not believing that they stayed over all night and built a cooker.
But
it's happening on the clock.
I mean, is that something that the county needs for some function? Is it for employee outings?
Does he use it to help fundraise? I guess he could.
But is that?
I don't know that he does,
okay.
but he could when they fundraise at Christmas. Does he use it? Yeah, but 7, 8 other officers have cookers that we can use.
Fundraise for the sheriff's office?
Well, no, they fundraise for whatever. And this year, I don't even know if they announce what it is.
I mean, but
sometimes you don't know where the money was donated to. It was just, hey, we raised this amount. Oh, good.
So it would be the sheriff's department raising money for a cause, you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever that cause may be.
Okay.
Whatever the sheriff picks that cause to be.
Okay. I'll switch gears now to, we'll call them homeless in Randolph County.
Got criticized about that.
So what's your thoughts?
Well, the sheriff had a plan, and I got criticized because, what is your plan? It's going to be cold tonight. What is your plan? Well, you don't walk outside and go, man, it's going to be cold. Better bring the dog in. You already have a plan to bring the dog in. You already have a plan where the dog's going to stay. Your animal's going to stay, going to sleep, and going to be contained.
And let me be clear, the analogy that you're using isn't saying homeless people are dogs.
No.
Yeah.
But it was. Here's the thing: they had an officer take a homeless guy to a different county. This is how it all started. He drops him off. Somebody in that county sees it, and they criticize us, and it gets back. So he's like, don't do that unless the homeless guy has a plan. I understand that. I get it. He said, matter of fact, since it's so cold, just ride them around in your car all night with you. And I'm like, you can't do that. Or you can take them to the jail and let them sleep. And the word was let them sleep. Now he came out on the news and said they can come in and sit in the chair and stay warm. That ain't what he told his officers. Because I did a public records request and got the text message that said per 100, that's his call number. This is what you're to do. Well, everybody else is like, well, what's your plan? Well, the plan should be don't wait till the last minute to have a plan.
Do you think that it is the responsibility of the sheriff's department to have a plan to deal with homeless?
I think they should participate in the homeless situation because he will go and they're primarily in the city. And that's what a lot of his
Right.
supporters say. But look at it this way. Does he go to Archdale and say, please support me? Please vote for me. Please donate money. Please come to my fundraiser. He does the same thing in Random, and he's, please vote for me. You have a police department, but please vote for me. Asheboro, the same thing. Please vote for me. Please, support me. But I don't want your issues because when the word homeless is brought up, call the mayor. That's their problem. So
Okay.
he wants you to support him in the election and financially in his campaign, but he don't want your problems. Why hadn't he in the meeting with the problem?
Okay. So,
He serves those people and they voted for him.
okay. So, what would be one of the primary responsibilities of the sheriff regarding homeless?
Well, homeless is it's not a money thing. It is rarely a money thing because a lot of them choose to be homeless.
So they
And
wouldn't necessarily be homeless; they would be more vagrant.
because they want to be in that situation.
Okay, so
Either
let's
drug
separate.
dependent or whatever it is, they choose to be. Some don't choose to be.
Okay, so let's separate the two. You have a group of homeless, truly, we'll say homeless due to no cause of their own, and then you have this other group that builds encampments, accosts
Yeah.
people in parking lots, lives under bridges, things like that. What do you feel like is the sheriff gets more of this pixie dust and Sheriff Arrington's going to make a decision on how to deal with those two groups? What do you do, if anything?
I posted about it. You have to get the religious entities in. The churches have to step in and help the ones who want to be helped. They can't help the ones that don't want to be helped.
So if they don't want to be helped, then
mental health has to step in.
so what responsibility do you feel like the sheriff plays in dealing with that?
When it comes down to it, if they don't want help, you can get court ordered help.
But
You
you
know,
wouldn't have an interaction with them if it was just they're living under a bridge. It would be a call, or
most of them are on drugs. So there's your nexus to get into whatever.
okay, so it would be like a vice officer.
Yes, because Asheboro and the county has done that.
So it would be criminal enforcement.
Well, they have taken down a dealer that was selling to the homeless. But if the homeless possess the drugs, they're not homeless anymore because they got a place at the jail for them.
So what's your thoughts on that?
You have to find the problem before you can find a solution. Why do we have all these homeless? Because what we're hearing is that Daymart's turning them out. That's where we have to start. We have to stop that from happening.
Do you think?
And then we have to deal with the issue to help the ones we can help, and then make the ones we can't help agree with us that they need help.
Is it the sheriff's responsibility to help the homeless?
Absolutely. He goes into the cities and asks for support, but he don't want to do anything about it when it comes to the issues. It's always and his supporters will tell you, well, that's in the city, that's not our problem. It's a community problem.
Okay,
that deserves a community solution.
Okay, for argument's sake, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but for argument's sake, let's say there's a location that's in the county, doesn't involve the city, and there is a group of homeless people in an encampment behind some business, we'll just say a Dollar General or something, does the sheriff have a responsibility to help those people?
I think a lot of people don't understand this, but I think if you and I think he does claim to be Christian, and so do I. I think as a Christian, you have a responsibility to help those people.
That's a moral responsibility, right?
But you have the means to do it too.
But that's a
And
moral, is
yeah,
that right?
You still have the connections with the community to
What
get
if
it
a
done.
sheriff is not a Christian? Does he have a responsibility to help the homeless?
I think so. And it's not hard. There's a guy in Randolph that has great ideas, but nobody will talk to him. He houses 20 to 25 homeless people now.
So
He gets them out of
so
gets them out of the cold.
so we said earlier that the primary responsibilities, statutorily primary responsibilities, was the court system, the detention center, and civil process.
So how do we fix a problem if we just push it deeper into the woods? That's not fixing it. That's hiding it.
So
You're moving them from one piece of property and they're going to go to somebody else's piece of property. You've not solved a thing.
but I guess the question I'm asking is, and again, I'm a bit of a devil's advocate, and it's specifically on words, is it the sheriff's responsibility to help them? So if it is,
What do you mean? I don't.
help
I don't
the
necessarily. I don't necessarily think it's a help issue. I think it's an enforcement issue.
but if you've got a group of, we call them homeless people, living in the woods behind a family dollar, Dollar General, whatever they are, they're not breaking any laws.
They may be just by being there, though.
Does the sheriff have a responsibility to help them?
They may be breaking the law just by.
For argument's sake, they're not breaking any laws.
If they don't want help, you're not going to give them help. But here's the kicker.
But
Let's
say they do want help.
Then
Is it the sheriff's responsibility to help them?
He has the connections to get it done.
Okay, so that means that
why can't they come together as a community and come up with a solution? I'm not saying it's solely his responsibility,
right, okay,
but he plays a part, just like the faith base, just like mental health, just like crisis center, just like a lot of people.
and they say all of those are nonprofits, right?
Yeah, but a lot of those play a responsibility, and some of the churches that want to do it and are not able because of restrictions, we got to fix that.
So should the sheriff's department create line item for budgetary items for those folks?
I don't think it's a budgetary issue. I think it's coming together and creating a community solution for a community problem.
I mean, but help costs money though, right? You're talking about rehab and all of that.
Rehab can be court ordered.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
It does.
Who pays for
Probation.
Now I understand if it's homeless and they're violating laws.
Right.
That's the sheriff's responsibility.
Right. And most of them are.
Yeah.
But we push them deeper into the woods and say, well, we've got it handled for now.
So you're saying it's not necessarily a sheriff's responsibility, but from a humanitarian standpoint, they should.
I think we need to sit down as a community, and he needs to be part of it, and the chief, and the mayor, and the commissioners, and say, "Hey, man, we're not doing enough. We are not doing enough."
So what you're saying is, if I'm hearing you right, is that as the sheriff, the highest ranking law enforcement official in the county should lead other law enforcement and other agencies to a solution.
Or join in, because some agencies have already set up standards that they go by to help curb that problem. So why not join in and help?
Okay, so
if you have the connections that they may not, why not lend a hand? It's a community problem.
So your thoughts on them riding around in their cars when it's cold, you're completely against that.
That's ludicrous.
And then what about them taking them to the waiting room in the jail?
Well, let me tell you about the waiting room in the jail, and I'll tell you because of the guy I met and talked to extensively in Random, and because I reached out to him and I said, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, because I've talked about the homeless. Let me help you. And so we did. We helped him. We fed him. And I said, let me sit down with you. And that's something Seabolt wouldn't do. Let me sit down with you and tell me what you think, because you deal with the homeless. Tell me your ideas, because he's got a lot of them. But nobody's ever went to him and said,
You
hey,
talking about the fellow in Randleman?
yeah, that helps the homeless.
That's right.
And he's faith-based.
It's a passion. It's a passion he has.
Yeah, and I said, he has solutions, so why don't we go to him and listen to some of his solutions? But here's the kicker: we want to stack a bunch of homeless people in the lobby of the jail and not vet any of them. He's told me that there's certain homeless people he don't want around his homeless people because they cause trouble. They have issues. They're schizophrenic or they're drug users, and that's not stuff he puts up with. And he says there's certain ones that I'll help, but they ain't staying because they cause too much trouble. But we're going to just stack them all into jail and not even vet them.
So obviously you feel it needs to be addressed somehow.
Yeah, but you can't stack them into jail. I mean, come on. Who's going to watch them? I mean, the short-staffed jail that we're already talking about that don't have enough people as it is, they can't come out. Or you could pull one of the 5 patrol officers off patrol when they're shorthanded and they got 5 on patrol. Pull one off patrol and let them go handle. You're not going to make that officer happy. Right. Who gets that? Yeah. What did I do to deserve watching people sleep?
All right, switch gears a little. What's your thoughts on facial hair in uniform?
I don't mind it. It needs to be kept clean. I mean, it needs to be standard. It has these standards.
So you're okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What about tattoos?
It depends on what they say. I don't mind tattoos. It just depends on what it says. If you fold your arms and it says "kill me" or you can't do that.
So are they gone, or it's just mandatory long sleeves?
No. I don't mind. I'm not going to discriminate.
No, but I'm saying would they be gone, or would it be long sleeves?
I don't see either.
I'm talking if they have offensive tattoos.
Oh, you got to cover it.
So there'd be long sleeves for them.
You got to cover it, or they can wear a sleeve like a sports sleeve. Yeah, they can wear that.
Okay.
If it's offensive or degrading, yes, you got to cover it.
Okay, so we talked about the budget just a little bit, and if you don't, so the budget, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about it. Budgets went from almost 19 million, 18 million and something to 36 million. Do you know what's in that increase? And that's been over the last, we'll just say 7 years. Do you know what eats that up?
I can't argue with cost of living. I mean, vehicles have gone up. There's no arguing with that. And
you got to admit that's a lot.
It is, but when you have a 30-car surplus, why are you buying 15 more trucks?
So what does, let me get that pixie dust. So what does Sheriff Arrington do to fix that? Is that a goal? Is that an ambition of yours to decrease the budget?
I don't think you need to decrease the budget, but you need to be a good steward of spending. And when you send shop people to Vegas and Texas to look at cars, just to look at cars at a car show to see, what car we might want next year.
So that's happening now.
It has happened.
Okay, so we had said earlier, you had said that you would be in favor of a full financial audit of the whole 38 million. If that audit revealed that you were $8 million in waste or misuse, would you decrease that budget then?
Well, you have to.
Okay, so you would decrease the budget.
Well, you give it back.
Okay.
Now, if at the end of the year I see a need and we have that $8 million, I don't know that I'm gonna give it all back, because I see a need. I think I'm gonna go to the commissioner and say, hey, I know this wasn't in there, but I see.
Okay, so would you give that back and then request from the commissioners?
Yeah, you give it back.
Again, I'm just gonna make up an issue. If what somebody had in social media had stated, I'm not saying it is true, I'm just saying if it were in this example, 4 shifts, 5 short on each shift. That's 20 people. So if you're short 20 people, well, we'll just say 6 months out of the year. That's a significant financial pot in lap salary. You're the sheriff tomorrow morning and you've got 20 people with 6 months of lap salary. Are you spending that on something else, or are you giving it back to the county?
Unfortunately, there's going to be something else because there's always medical bills at the end of the year with the jail. And that's
So is that not budgeted for in the jail budget?
It should be. But if we exceed what we budgeted in there by, $1 million or 2 million, then we've overshot our
And
guess.
I understand it in that standpoint, but if it's
And
truly lap salary and it's excess because you didn't use it, would you allocate that somewhere else for a project, or would you give it back and request allocation for a new project?
I don't know about a project, but
When I say a project,
I think you need to, I mean, if you got a bill to pay, I think you need to use it to pay the bill.
yeah, I mean,
It's like the medical bill at the jail. There's always an overage. There's always.
If there was some piece of tactical equipment that you needed, that your guys needed, and you had $40,000.
There's money in the budget for that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that if you needed it and it wasn't allocated for that fiscal year and you had excess money, would you just, because typically sheriff has discretion over
Yeah,
overspending.
They also have asset forfeiture funds that they can use for equipment.
So I guess
Those drug seizure monies, they can go to all they have to do is ask permission, and the commissioners are going to say, heck yeah, that's not our taxpayer money. Yeah, you can spend it on that because we save money.
So
and you get your toys.
Yeah. So the taxpayer money that is in the lap salary, you saying you would give that back, and then if you had,
I don't know that you would give it back if you have that medical bill at the end of the
but
year.
if you didn't, I'm saying
depends on
it's true surplus.
Depends on the toy. If it's
On what?
It depends on the equipment, or we call them whatever these.
So, and I guess what I'm saying is, would you give it back and ask for
That's the proper way.
Approving?
That's the proper way to do it.
I agree. Would you do that, or
Yes.
would you say that's lap salary? It's my discretion.
Well, and we can. He can. It's not business friendly, but he can do that because that's how he did the shop.
But what would you do?
Because they didn't approve the shop, he said, "Well, I'll do it anyway. I'll just do it anyway, and I'll find the money."
As Sheriff Arrington covered in this magical pixie dust that I've been throwing at you, what do you
get
do?
more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, and you can't go into the commissioners meeting and rub them the wrong way and expect them to give you what you asked for when you ask for it.
So are you saying you'd give it back and ask for
That's
a
the
request?
right way to do it.
Okay.
That's the right way to do it. Because if you work together and they see that you're trying your best to save them money, they're going to try their best to give you what you asked for.
Okay. I've seen, with all honesty, I don't know where they came from, but I heard a lot of chatter about crime rates going up. I've not looked at that.
Violent crime rates.
I'm sorry?
Violent crime.
Violent crime. So violent crime is up.
Crime is down. Violent crime is up.
Okay. So we're talking about homicides, assaults, things like that.
Yeah. It went down in 2024, but it's still higher than it was, in 2020, and so it's increased,
but other crimes have gone down,
according to them and the statistics from the FBI. Yeah, crime has gone down.
So,
but you can manipulate that if you're not arresting as many drug dealers as you used to. Then it looks like crime has gone down.
Statistics,
right?
Okay, I get you. So as far as, like, say, homicides are going up,
I don't necessarily say homicides, but shootings, violent shootings. I mean, I
think homicides are up. It might just be
they probably are.
But how does the sheriff?
I'm not saying just homicides because not all of them die.
Right.
But
I mean, homicides are up.
Yeah, but the week I released that, I got called a liar again. Where's your stats? And I'm like, come from the SBI. I'm not making this up. You got Google, go find it.
Yep.
And then we have 2 days later, we have 2 people shot over in my neighborhood. And then 2 days later, we have another a burglary in progress that nobody's talked about yet.
Okay, but as far as homicides, they are up.
Okay.
They are. Is there anything as far as a homicide from a proactive standpoint that law enforcement or the sheriff can do or implement?
I think Governor Cooper has kind of crippled us a little bit on it. And I'll say it out loud. They did something to manipulate numbers to make it look like juvenile crime was going down, and that's that they raised the age so they could divert more crimes.
Right.
And then they saw real quickly especially our juvenile system, that crime is going down, but it's a numbers game because they divert the crimes.
But as far as homicides themselves,
right, is going up with our juveniles as well.
So, but as far as homicides themselves, is there any tactical approach from a law enforcement perspective to thwart homicides, or is that just a reactionary crime?
I'll tell you. I'll answer that with a story. Greensboro police tried to lower statistics by stopping minorities in traffic stops and doing misdemeanor crimes and
tried to lower statistics or lower the crime?
Lower statistics.
Okay. Well,
We're stopping too many. No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
We're stopping too many. Our statistics look bad. Let's quit writing these tickets and this stuff. And what they did is they stopped getting guns off the street. So by manipulating that statistic, by not doing their job, violent crime went up, and they went, wait a minute, what's happening? Well, you took all your proactive officers and you handcuffed them. And a lot of that has to do with shortages. You can't be as proactive if you don't have enough men to answer your calls.
Okay.
So you're not taking the guns off the street. You're not putting potential shooters in jail, and they'll be in jail and not get the opportunity to shoot somebody.
So you're saying you believe that the proactive, more aggressive approach to 100%. Law enforcement would have a positive impact on homicides?
It would help. It wouldn't solve it, but it would help.
Okay. Okay.
Because you're not going to solve passionate crime. I mean, domestic violence is, that's hard.
Yeah. So what about
that piece of paper? Don't stop that guy from coming over and doing it. I mean, I wish it would.
I hear you.
But it doesn't.
So what about like your assaults and your robberies? And I assume, I don't know. I guess if we're going to say violent crime is up, so that's going to be your assaults, maybe kidnappings. What about rape, sexual assault? Is that in that bucket? Do you know? Okay. And I asked one of your opponents a similar question to this. And this question has came up over on social media and sent to me as well. It's if you worked for several years for the sheriff, and the question that was posed to me is, why would you run for sheriff against the guy that you worked for that promoted you to captain, and then wait till you retire to do it?
He's not the same guy he was.
So there's been a
he's changed.
Okay.
But he's allowed it to change, and never has changed with that. I think there was a point in time where he would link power to people that didn't deserve it, and they never got the power back. And he has to run the department. He has to ask for all of it. You can't get a complaint from a deputy about a superior officer and say, "Hey, well, go call HR." Richard Hurley would have our head.
Yeah, so
you can take a sheriff's office problem across the hall to HR and not even let me handle it first. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you can't kick the can down the road. You got to address the issue.
I hear you. Yeah.
And people want to see, and that's what Richard did, is they want to see the guy in charge be in charge. They want him to make the final decision. They want him to stand by it.
Okay, and I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with, at some point in the past, I'm thinking it's probably 4 years or so ago, maybe longer, you'll know. You had made a Facebook post, I believe it was, that you had said that the current sheriff now is the hardest working sheriff that you had worked for in your 23 years at the sheriff's department.
I've never seen a sheriff join. I've never seen.
So that was over a manhunt.
Yeah.
So you did post that. You did say that. You posted.
Yep. He went in the woods. He wasn't scared to get money. You know, but that guy left us.
So when was this? Do you remember?
I would say somewhere around year 4. And it was before his accident. But the accident didn't help. It helped someone else take over power. And
so some
decisions were being made without him. People were being fired without him. What do you mean you got fired? What do we fire you for?
Okay, so whenever you made that statement, that was before his first term was up.
Around year 4. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on 8 now. So it's been almost. We're going on 8. Well, we all are on 8. So that's been 4 years ago. So from 4 to 5 years ago, something has happened that's changed your outlook on everything. That's created an environment for you to say, I need to run for sheriff to help Randolph County.
My opinion of it is it's always been. And I had the opportunity to believe in something about it. I could do that right now, $1,000 a year, putting up with this and watch all the veteran officers leave and all these other routes, you know, and people just be working in misery and overworked and unappreciated. And I had the chance finally to say, you know what, I can do something. I can, by running against him and making it. Because if he don't want to be sheriff, I will. If he's going to quit on us, then I'll step.
So you've got these convictions that you while you feel like you still can, you want to right the ship.
Yeah, and I'm not running to be sheriff. I've never had a desire to be sheriff. I don't need the title. I don't need the title. I don't need the money. I got my. You know, it ain't about money. It ain't about title. It's about finally getting this place back to where it should be. And if I can create change, however, and I've already done, already there. A couple of my videos have already created the exact same thing that I said I was. I'm picky. So I've already created change. I've already made him make decisions to try to take the power back that he should have taken back 4 or 5 years ago. And that decision making, putting it on his back, where he could allow someone else to make that decision and claim like, well, he didn't know about it. Plausible deniability. Well, I didn't even know that was going on.
Is there anything that you can think of that I didn't ask that you wished I would have?
There's so much more to talk about. I will say that.
And maybe we can do a follow-up at some point.
There's a lot more that we could talk about.
Well, let me ask you this. This is the same.
I've addressed and people were like, oh, that's why or problem.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess more specifically related to what what characteristics, what talents, education, vision that makes you the best candidate out for it.
I used to say this in every promotional process or interview. I said, it wasn't, it's a tie. It's a tie between you and him. Sell yourself. So let me do that. I've worked there 27 and a half years in 5 different divisions and have been a detective half of my career, a captain and commander of my unit for 6 years. I know the ins and outs. I know the issues where the other ones don't. Where the current sheriff won't fix and the other ones don't even know exist. I know the issues. I know how to fix them. The men and women there respect me. I'm not going to be their buddy and I'm not going to be their friend,
but they respect me because they know I'm fair. And everybody that's worked on me knows that. And there's a day to goof around and pick and play and be pals and buddies, and there's a day to we need to get this job done. I've not had to leave an agency because I was forced to or asked to or made to, for whatever reason. And I spent my whole career at that agency. Um, I know the sheriff's office backwards and forwards. I'm not telling you that I'm perfect. I'm not. I'm gonna make mistakes, and people are gonna harp on my decisions because they don't like the way I do it. But at the end of the day, if I make that decision, I gotta live. But I can't make that decision because I want to get reelected. That's the problem. If you want to be sheriff because it's a stepping stone to Congress or a stepping stone to the House of Representatives, or you want the title, or you need money, we don't want you. We want somebody that's going to lead us in the battle and take care of our men and women and give them what they deserve. What they deserve. That's being treated fairly, paid correctly, trained appropriately, and appreciated. And that's stuff that's not being it's not being done. I'm not saying there is not men and women in that agency that are supervisors that are not doing it, but the leadership at the top is not appreciated. They're not.
Yep.
There's officers there that hadn't been there but a few years, and I don't even know them, but they're like, man, I stepped into a mess. I've recruited people to go to work there. They said, hey, you just quit, you're running for sheriff. What do you think about me getting a job? I said, apply. I think you'll do a good job. And being young at the agency, the politics won't bother you from now. And hopefully by the time you get to where it does, somebody else will be in charge. Apply. They need you. I've talked people into going to that place. I've tried to talk people out of leaving that place. And it got to a point I was like, I understand. I get it, man. I'm not going to talk to you into leaving. Because I'm like, man, just wait. Just wait. Let's just see. Let's just see what the citizens of Randolph County do. If they will listen and they will understand that this has got to be fixed. And it's not going to be fixed by asking him to do it, because we have. It's going to be fixed by replacing them and putting somebody in there that will do it. I said, just hold on, man. Let's see. And they did, and they regretted it and ended up leaving anyway. That's the problem. So I stopped asking people to stay. I stopped. I said, man, I wish you wouldn't. I ain't gonna let that man there like, man, I can't. So I just stopped asking. I said, man, you know what? I understand. I hate you leaving. And I hope one day I can get you back. I may not. You may get over there and get promoted 2 or 3 times and I can't afford you. But I'm gonna offer you a job.
So usually the when I finish this thing up, every interview, and this could be the hardest question involved or the hardest request, is that when I wrap this up, I ask everyone the same question or the same request. I want you to take all 3 of your opponents, and I want you to tell me, in your view, what is their strongest asset that you like about them,
Strongest asset.
about each one.
With Greg Seabold, he is compassion. I think he's misled where his compassion is supposed to be direct, but he's a compassionate person. And he shows that in his fundraising. I like the programs that he's created. Some of them make us smile. Buying birthday cakes, that's great. Giving kids awards in school, that's great. But it ain't getting drugs off the street. It's not locking up violent criminals. It makes us smile. It makes us feel good. It's not fighting crime. And we have to have a happy medium. We have to be able to do both.
So who's next one?
With Toria Lowe, people respect him. He's actually done the job. I'm not saying he's a slouch when it comes to investigations, but I supervised him. and that doesn't mean he was a bad investigator. But I supervised him, and he's good because we pushed him.
Awesome.
You know,
All right, what about the third one?
I hate to say this, it's going to be a tough one. But with Eric, he knows, he absolutely knows that there has to be change. And I've talked to Toriello.
Okay, so with Eric, what is the good quality, the good characteristic that you like?
He wants to see positive change.
Okay.
He wants to see positive change. I'm not sure he's the man to give it to you because you can't come in there and just fire everybody. That's not positive. It's not positive. I don't think his technique will be received well because his ideas of fixing things is just to start over. You can't start over. Can't start over. But with all three of them, I've done more. You know, I've done more. I've investigated more stuff. I've testified in federal court 7 times. I'm not sure. I'm not dogging Chris Torrielli about this. He was a DEA task force officer for 10 years. I'm not sure he's testified in federal court 7 times. I don't think Eric has testified in federal court ever. I know the SIPO has, but unfortunately it was for a lawsuit. I've not ever been a defendant in court. And I'm not saying they were all convicted or charged, or convicted of their crimes, or even charged with a crime. But if you're a defendant in a lawsuit, you're still a defendant in court. I've never been a defendant in court. And going back to the end of it, I think I'm blessed with an upbringing that my parents gave me that showed me early on that if you want to be successful, this is what I'm trying to give to my kids. That you gotta go get it. Nobody's giving you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go get it.
You gotta hustle.
You gotta hustle.
Yep. So,
And I know I have faults. They didn't hire me because I run fast. And I know that. So I have to make up in other aspects of the job. So I did it by educating myself to know more than the rest of the guys. So when it came down to it, they were like, "Hey, Eric, can you help me on this? What we got here?" Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, overall through this whole process, I've been impressed. Overall, I am. I think it's. I actually enjoy being involved to this degree.
Can't wait to hear what those 3 said in my strong. I'll watch it.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming, helping get the word out, and we'll see where this goes. When we first did this, we said we wanted to give everybody a voice, a middle of the road voice, and give people in Randolph County, give them the most information that we can give them.
Yeah.
From just 2 men sitting down from an honest conversation.
Yeah.
And let people just say, "Hey, I like what I see," or "He or she's not for me for this." And that's my goal.
Well,
I think you and I've met that.
We'll wrap it up. Let me say this to people that are listening, especially religious folks out there that will say a prayer for it. Don't ever pray for me to win. That's not my goal. And any of this is more importantly than anything, I want God's will in my life. And if it's not God's will for me to be sure, I don't want no part of it.
Anybody that knows me and knows kind of some of what I've been involved in is I have always said, whether it's you, whether it's Sheriff Seabold, whether it's Eric Hicks, whether it's Chris Torriello, whoever wins, it will be God's will.
Exactly. And if it's not His will, I don't want it. I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm out of His will. So And I've told,
And I'll
I've
just
told,
tell you, I admire that. I have to tell you to your face, I admire you for that.
and I've told people this. It don't matter how many signs you put up and how many promises you tell people and how much money you raise. That's not going to determine who wins. It's going to be God's will, and if it's not His will for me to be that, then I'll find what He wants me to do.
And part of my goal with starting this Beyond the Ballot Randolph as well is I do want to try to help identify, because I personally believe, I've had this conversation with any of the rest, but I personally believe that we need to move more toward our leaders, whether it's the House, the Senate, our judges, that when they're making the decisions that they make, that they're actually seeking God's guidance for those decisions rather than ourselves. And so I appreciate what you said.
But you have to look at some of those politicians that, and it's unfortunate that this is the way it happens, and some people may not like me saying this, but it's unfortunate that some politicians are prefer. I'll just say they prefer offending Christian before anybody else.
Happens.
That's the problem. They would rather see, us offended because we have beliefs. And that takes me back to another post I put out there about being a constitutional sheriff. And I said this: you can't restrict somebody's speech because it's uncomfortable. And if I'm talking to you about God and it's uncomfortable, that's the speech that has to be protected.
I agree. Well, Brian, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming out. I really appreciate it. And best of luck in the world. Take it.